Thank you. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. This is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Bev until midday. We're going to take a little bit of weather and then we've got a brilliant show for you. Don't go anywhere.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. Significant travel disruptions today. A vehicle breakdown on the A720 eastbound at the Calder roundabout off-slip causing restrictions. The A483 is closed for resurfacing from Welshpool to Buttington, with diversions. All lanes on the A64 eastbound in North Yorkshire are closed due to a collision. Drivers on Hampshire's M27 eastbound between junctions 3 and 4 face a 30-minute delay. And on the trains, industrial action affects cross-country services, and delays between London St Pancras International and Luton affect East Midlands Railway. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
A lot of people have been imbibed with the notion you're born white, you're born male, you've won life's lottery, but that's not what people are telling you. Tell us, what began your journey on this fascinating path?
I mean, I think rather like you, I've had a long interest in men and mental health. And I was talking to companies about men's mental health, and at the end, there'd always be guys who come up to me and say, I can't say this out loud, but my career has taken a real hit because I'm a man. I don't know what to do with that. You know, things had to change. I'm not sexist, I'm not racist, but I'm really suffering. So I heard that so many times. I thought I need to investigate this, gauge how wide this is, and did some polling, spoke to a lot of people, and I was really staggered by what we got back. You know, for nearly half of all white guys to be walking around too scared to even give respectful feedback to a colleague, to not risk making a joke, to, you know, a third have said that their mental health has been affected because there's that terrible fear that doing or saying the wrong thing and you're out the door.
Gets you cancelled.
Yeah, and then, you know, particularly from young guys, you know, more than 1 in 3 young guys saying that they've directly lost out on career opportunities, promotions because they're white men. It was a scale I didn't expect, and you know, as I said, no one's saying this didn't have to change. You know, in my old BBC days, I worked undercover to expose racism, but the DEI, the diversity programs that have been rolled out, aren't just nice HR policies. They're actually rooted in an early 70s radical Marxism that divides everyone into oppressed and oppressor. And if you're white and male, you're an oppressor. Doesn't matter if you're working class, doesn't matter what your mental health's like, you're already seen as top of the pack. And as we know, it's a massive distortion of what it's like for most guys.
GB News, the People's Channel.
.9:35 on Thursday the 19th of June, live across the UK, Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Bev Turner.
So brace yourself for a marvellous heat wave. Health alerts are issued for vulnerable people, animals and crops. I'm not sure the crops are listening, because temperatures could reach 91 degrees. And my child's sports day has just been cancelled. Brilliant.
Welcome to Woke Britain.
I say it very simply, Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. I have ideas as to what to do, but I haven't made a final. I like to make the final decision 1 second before it's due.
Donald Trump has approved plans to potentially attack Iran as today Foreign Secretary David Lammy and his American counterpart Marco Rubio meet to unite over the Middle East crisis.
And this has a touch of history about it. The Attorney General, Lord Hermer, a great friend of the Prime Minister's, warned Britain joining any conflict with Iran could be illegal. That's what Lord Goldsmith, the Attorney General, said about the Iraq War in 2003. And then he changed his mind.
The benefits bombshell, disability payouts are soaring despite Labour's support reforms, with a huge rebellion brewing over their welfare bill.
And our academics being silenced. 1 in 5 professors on both sides of the political spectrum no longer feel free to teach controversial topics. So, how do we keep freedom of speech in the classroom?
Best man on the road! 1, 2, jump on!
And the carnival is in crisis. Notting Hill Carnival's future hangs in the balance as the event organiser asked the government for urgent safety funding after record numbers of arrests. A lot going on this morning.
It's pathetic that your school is cancelled.
Well, just to be clear, in case the headmistress rings me, it's not the school. The athletics event that was going to happen this afternoon for loads of schools in the area has been... I've just sent an email to say it's been cancelled because it's too hot.
I'm older than everybody here. We had a heatwave in 1975 that was hotter than this time, and nothing was cancelled. Exams went on, school sports days went on. And didn't you say that there was a cross-country thing cancelled because it was too cold?
A few years ago.
The whole point about cross-country is it makes you warm.
Cross-country was cancelled because it was too cold. I went into the head, I said, half these kids are going skiing next week. They're not going to go skiing because it's too cold. Just don't be ridiculous. And actually, this is because we've got a generation of children who we are teaching them what? Oh, if things are difficult, stay at home. Don't work too hard. Don't get yourself out of your comfort zone. Don't put yourself at risk of being a bit hot. Get a hat, put on some cream, drink some water and run around that track. That's what I'd be saying, but there you go.
Now,
right.
this is a very interesting film we're going to show you now with the caption,
it's something
in the
else,
Rockies, working to deliver the Brits back home, G7 done. This is the Prime Minister posting this video. We wonder what you think. Did you like the moody music? OK, if you're listening on the radio, we apologise because that probably didn't work for you. But that was a very cinematic depiction. That is Keir Starmer's G7 summit in review. And the comments when he posted this online were just brilliant. I love the British public. June Slater tweeted in response, "Oh, you think you're chuffing Top Gun? Go home, get your vest on, shut up talking global... You've all doubted your countries and neglected your people. Welcome to the Hunger Games." And Johnny Bell had tweeted, "Whoever runs Keir Starmer's X account, keep up the good work. You're doing a fantastic job of making him look like a complete and utter... a loser," is the word I'll use, but that's the word he used. And it's the idea of this is to show Starmer strutting his stuff on the international stage. The G7, even though there were 8 people in the photographs, because for some reason the head of the European Commission is there now. Who invited her? That's not part of the G7.
Exactly.
The unelected Ursula von der Leyen. What is she doing there?
People aren't stupid. Darren had tweeted, "Every post you make, you say, deliver for Britain, and yet you never do, and no one is believing you.
Well,
you are a liar, resign."
When is he ever in Britain?
What he doesn't seem to understand is so many people in this country have not forgotten. He did an interview in which he was asked, "Do you prefer Westminster or Davos?" And he didn't even miss a beat, and he said Davos. And our suspicions that you're just paving your way for your global future and not looking after people here.
By the way, there were 9 people in that photograph, so some other interloper managed to bung themselves into the picture. Perhaps it was an intruder. Anyway, Prime Minister, you're going to change your video editor because I'm afraid it just looked laughable.
I can see what they're trying to do. They're looking to Trump. They're looking to people who do well on social media. They're trying to create this image. It's not working.
There's a cost of living crisis in this country, and we're teetering on the edge of a major war, and he's putting out some images of him by the mountains.
And it looks like style over substance.
I'm afraid it does.
We're not stupid.
The President of the United States says they are prepared to carry out strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities as well as other political targets.
The strike anxiety is mounting after President Trump says that nobody knows what his plan is. Here he is.
It's a terrible thing. I hate to see it. I hate to see all that death, so much death and destruction. I say it very simply. Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. I have ideas as to what to do, but I haven't made a final. I like to make the final decision 1 second before it's due. You know?
And history repeating itself here. The Attorney General, Lord Hermer, appointed to that job by Keir Starmer. He's a mate of Keir Starmer's, no problem with that. He's a human rights lawyer, of course he is. He has warned Britain becoming involved in any US attacks in Iran could be illegal. I'm going to take you back to 2003. The Attorney General then was Lord Goldsmith, mate of Blair's, Labour donor. He told Blair in January 2003 it would be almost certainly unlawful for Britain to take part in the invasion of Iraq. By March 2003, he changed his legal advice under pressure from Tony Blair. It's history repeating itself.
That's right. Based on what? And if you may not remember, you may be too young for it, 1 million people marched on the streets of London.
They did.
Because they didn't want us to invade Iraq, because they could see what was coming down the line.
And, of course, Blair had told Parliament that there were weapons of mass destruction, which they were... And, of course, they never were there.
Absolutely untrue. Let's
talk to the military historian and journalist, Dr. Peter Caddick-Adams. Peter, morning to you. I just have this horrible sense of déjà vu here when I saw Lord Hermer on the front page of all these newspapers saying, oh, no, we can't do this, it could be illegal. This is what Goldsmith told us about Iraq, and then conveniently changed his legal advice. Does it matter what the Attorney-General says?
Well, yes, of course. You know, we regard ourselves very much as a law-abiding nation, and we want to stick to international law, such as it is, as much as possible on every occasion. Otherwise, you're just lowering yourselves to the standards of your opponent. But this isn't 2003. I mean, I have to say, I was there in 2003. I was on the start line straining to go. You know, 2003, there hadn't been threats and volleys of missiles thrown against another nation, whereas that has been the case with Israel. But I mean, my essential view is that this isn't our fight. This is a fight between Israel and Iran. And though we might wish, all of us, to see that the creator and sponsor of international terror around the world humbled and removed in a sort of regime change, which is long overdue and has been looming over the Middle East since, 1979. That's up to the Iranian people with a nudge from Israel. And the reason why British assets are there is to protect our own people, our own interests, our shipping, our trade in the wider Gulf region, not to take part in it.
Peter, of course, the Prime Minister will be thinking about the so-called special relationship between Britain and the United States, and we think the bunker bomb planes would fly from that British base on the Chagos Islands, which, of course, we've just given away, Diego Garcia. And if Britain withholds support for American bombers flying from that island, that could jeopardise relations with the United States. Is that a more strategic decision for the Prime Minister?
I'm not sure that would. I'm not sure that would jeopardise the special relationship at all. But I think we've got to watch being hung up on this bunker bomb idea that's suddenly become the sort of international media moment of discussion. Iran was toying with underground facilities as far back as 10 years ago, and if I remember correctly, it's far lower than this bunker bomb can reach. So if America's going to drop one, it's not necessarily going to solve the problem. And other people have said, well, you can drop several and they drill down on each other. That still really doesn't provide closure. What you need is someone to look at this thing, go down, see that it's destroyed, and then leave it. So I'm not sure bunker bombs are really the solution.
All right, Peter, that's Dr. Peter Caddick-Adams, the military historian. We think these bunker bombs can penetrate 60 metres of rock, but if the nuclear facility is 300 metres below the mountain, he's right, it's not going to reach it. Although I suppose the rubble could... I don't know.
Don't know. All I know is that hundreds of thousands of innocent people will be killed, and nobody really seems to talk about that. Right, you have all been getting in touch and giving us your comments on Keir Starmer's movie video, his assessment of G7. We will read those to you after this very quick break. And we're also going to be over to Birmingham because this hot weather might be wonderful, but imagine living behind all that mess on the streets. That bin strike
is still going on 101 days. Can you believe it? What's the government thinking of? Why hasn't they got a grip and got it sorted?
Yeah, wasn't sure if that was live footage of my teenagers' bedrooms, but anyway, we'll be back in just a minute. Don't go anywhere.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Hello, lots of hot sunshine across Italy, and we may spark a few heavy thundery showers in Sicily over the next day or so. There's a weather system sitting away to the west of Portugal, but this weather front could introduce a bit more cloud in Madeira during Friday and Saturday. A few showers inland over Spain, but most of the coasts dry and sunny. There are those heavy showers in southern Italy. Much of the eastern Mediterranean dry, fine and sunny. It'll stay sunny in Barcelona and Nice throughout the weekend. Goodbye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Back in 2015, Thornton and Cleveley's resident Emma Shepherd noticed the grass in her garden wasn't growing. Within months, she had to put down Alfie, one of her beloved dogs who had developed throat cancer. Just weeks later, she developed a lesion on her back, which would later be diagnosed as skin cancer. She knew then that something wasn't right.
I wasn't really aware of the history of the ICI site when I took the property. I did so much investigation. I had the ground tested with my own money. There was high levels of metals in there and some obviously cancerous carcinogenics in there. They actually nicknamed me Erin Brockovich because I was so all over it.
Last year, a joint investigation was launched by the Environment Agency and the local council. That was following the discovery of PFOA, a man-made chemical that potentially causes cancer. Both parties told GB News they are now working together on this matter, whilst the company under investigation for the potential release of the substance had this to say. AGC Chemicals Europe sets the highest standards for itself and takes its commitments to the local community and to the environment extremely seriously. They added that they voluntarily phased out the use of PFOA in the UK by early 2012. Release of the substance was within the permits held by AGC Chemicals Europe at the time and also UK legislation in place at the time. And yet, 2 months ago, residents within a kilometre of the site received this letter from the council, advising them not to consume anything grown in their gardens due to potential PFOA contamination.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
What is the state of our economy? What is the state of our National Health Service? What is the state of our schools?
What on earth is going on?
Understanding Britain means understanding the state we are in. This is State of the Nation with me, Matt Goodwin, Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays from 8 p.m. on GB News.
It is 101 days after the bin workers in Birmingham began all-out industrial action following months of disrupted collections.
It's all over 170 workers losing around £8,000 a year, according to Unite the Union.
The council is saying it's striving to clear the backlog of waste and has presented a new proposal to resolve the strikes.
Anger boiled over at a council meeting this week. This was shouted at council leader John Clancy.
Would you take an £8 pay or a £12 pay? That's what you expected. Hard working bin workers to take.
Well, that was one of the bin workers.
And I'm not surprised.
I know.
The anger. I mean, I'm surprised there's not been a major withholding of the council tax. Let's talk to a councillor in Birmingham. It's Marion Jenkins, who's Shadow Cabinet Member for Finance. Marion, this is becoming an international disgrace. Birmingham is ridiculed around the world. 101 days and still no resolution.
Yeah, it is. We're a laughing stock. It's 101 days, by the way, since all-out strike action began, but there's been 6 months of strike action since the beginning of this dispute. By the way, those insults were being shouted from the public gallery of Council Leader John Cotton, not John Clancy.
Sorry.
Forgive us, yeah.
Thank
that
you.
was a previous leader that Labour sacked.
OK, thanks for clarifying.
How do they fix this?
Well, we've explained what needs to be done. By the way, we asked for a debate on this strike, and Labour even refused a debate on the strike. And you know, I mean, everything that you said is true about how bad it is. And just to give you an example, just outside my ward, I've got a school that hasn't had a waste collection for 10 weeks. And, you know, all those leftover school dinners that for some reason weren't eaten have been sitting in those bags. Now with the temperature climbing to 29 degrees, it's becoming a real health problem. And in fact, the council is having to spend about 100,000 a month on action just to address those aspects of the health considerations. So it's that, I mean, I've got old people's homes in my ward, which I'm constantly having to chase to get those collected, because you can imagine when the sort of human waste that you get in old people's homes tends to build up. It's got to be collected. People are keeping the waste in their showers and in bags in their showers and things like that. It's every bit as bad as the pictures that you're showing, but you know, in the case of things like schools and old people's homes, you know, it's particularly acute.
It must, it must stink in certain parts of the city.
Well, yes. If you go to places where there's 10 weeks worth of school dinner waste built up, it will stink and it will smell. But you asked the question, what do we need to do about it? I mean, we've set out the plan that needs to be followed. But you've got to remember in all this, because about half the cabinet are members of Unite. You know, they're conflicted. There's a conflict of interest in terms of the action that they can take. But what needs to be done is, first of all, we've got to remove the equal pay risk, which means we have to complete the grading exercise, which makes it then much more difficult for people to raise equal pay claims. And at the moment, every month that goes by, and this exercise was supposed to be finished by April, it's still going on. Every month that goes by, we rack up an additional equal pay bill of up to £14 million. Then what needs to be done is we need to make the offers subject to a time limit. So the offers that have been made to the grade 3s that are going to be downgraded, and also now they've discovered they have to downgrade the drivers as well from grade 4. So they've opened up a whole new front. Those offers have to be time limited. To put an end to it. And of course, it is very difficult for the council leader, because you can see that you know, the people who support the strike, who are members of his own movement, are shouting insults at him.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you. We have run out of time, but I think you gave a really good assessment there of where we're at there. But our hearts go out to the people of Birmingham. Marian Jenkins there, a Shadow Cabinet Member for Finance at Birmingham City
Bankrupt Labour Council.
Still to come, Notting Hill Carnival could be on the ropes without urgent taxpayer funding. You all right with that? This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Morning. Yes, it's time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. A hot and sunny one for most places today. A little bit cooler on some coasts, and it's not that sunny across much of Scotland first thing. Bit of drizzly rain in western areas as well, but that should tend to peter out. The cloud will break up a little bit, and we should see some sunshine certainly developing across the central belt and southern Scotland by this afternoon. Most of Northern Ireland, much of England and Wales, fine and sunny once more. A little bit of a breeze picking up along some of these North Sea coasts, so not as hot here, and it will be as hot where the cloud persists over northern Scotland, but elsewhere temperatures are likely to get into the mid-high 20s. Perhaps even 30 degrees Celsius in one or two places. Now, as we go through the late afternoon and into this evening, eyes down to the southwest as we may start to see a little bit more clouds edging in, but generally it's a fine, balmy summer's evening for most parts of the UK. As I said, central and southern Scotland seeing the sunshine coming through. Still quite a bit of cloud at this stage across northern Scotland, and a cooler feel with the breeze coming in from the sea, generating perhaps a little bit of ha in places too. That should tend to push away further north as we go through tonight, and most places will have clear skies. But that cloud down to the southwest, that will be edging in. We might just see one or two very scattered showers across southwest Wales and southwest England, but most places will stay dry, and most places are going to be pretty warm. Certainly towns and cities across the south and the west holding up in the mid or even high teens. So pretty uncomfortable night for sleeping here, and the nights aren't going to get any more comfortable over the next few either. A bit more cloud around tomorrow, and still the chance of one or two showers over Wales, Northern Ireland, perhaps into parts of England and Scotland by the afternoon, but they'll be well scattered. Most places will stay dry, and another hot one. Hotter day on the east coast, temperatures inland over 30 Celsius. Bye for now.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. A collision on the M5 slip road to the M6 northbound in Sandwell is causing 10-minute delays. A broken down vehicle on the M27 eastbound in Hampshire is adding 30 minutes. The A483 between Welshpool and Buttington is closed for resurfacing with diversions in place. The M9 eastbound off-slip at Junction 1 Newbridge is partially blocked. Approach with caution. And on the trains, expect disruption as cross-country services face industrial action. And there are delays on East Midlands Railway between London St Pancras International and Luton. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Imagine having an extra £1,000 to spend each week for an entire year. £54,321 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to spend however you like. £54,321 in cash could be landing in your bank account this year. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show. It's not a bad brand. Yeah. Uncensored. Very, very racy tonight on the unpredictable. What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our viewers and listeners. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel. 10 a.m. on Thursday, the 19th of June, live across the United Kingdom. This is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Bev Turner.
El Scorchio. Temperatures could reach 91 degrees Fahrenheit or 33 degrees centigrade if you're a bit more modern than me. So get your shorts and shades on.
Temperatures are rising and people across Britain are flocking to seasides like this one in Bridlington to soak up the sun. We'll be speaking to people about what they love about the warm weather.
They'll definitely be flocking there later. We're going to get her paddling.
Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. I have ideas as to what to do, but I haven't made a final. I like to make the final decision 1 second before it's due.
That is Donald Trump approving plans to potentially attack Iran. Today, Foreign Secretary David Lammy and his American counterpart Marco Rubio are going to meet in the Middle East to discuss.
And a touch of history repeating itself here. The Attorney General, Lord Hermer, a great friend of the Prime Minister's, warned Britain joining the conflict with Iran could be illegal. This is what happened in 2003 when Lord Goldsmith, the Attorney General, told Blair the Iraq war was unlawful, but changed his legal advice 2 months later.
And it is Ladies' Day at Ascot. Our royal correspondent Cameron Walker is soaking up the sun in his fabulous top hat.
I certainly am. Highs of 28 degrees today, but with such warm temperatures, is the incredibly strict dress code going to be relaxed? More details shortly.
Best man on the road! 1, 2, jump on!
Carnival in crisis. I think I heard this headline before. The Notting Hill Carnival's future could be in the balance. The event organisers want government money, that's you, the taxpayer, to pay for safety funding. Last year, somebody was stabbed to death at that carnival. They have real safety issues. I've never been. All the years I've lived in London, I've never been.
It is literally my worst nightmare. I'm not a massive fan of music festivals, to be honest, at all. Don't mind it if I'm in a field and I can just be drinking rosé in the sunshine. You know what I mean, ladies? Don't mind that. But the idea of being there at Notting Hill Carnival on the stinky streets of London, I'm sorry, no. Talking of stinky London, Sadiq Khan is going to be taking some questions soon about the state of this city that we're living in down here, and he's also going to be questioned on the grooming gang, so we're going to bring you a little bit of that live. You want to
And it'll be interesting because he is a man of Pakistani Muslim origin, and that, of course, the case review said they were predominantly, disproportionately involved in those grooming gangs.
GBNews.com/your say to let us know your thoughts. First, though, the very latest news headlines with Sophia Hill.
Bev, thank you. Very good morning. It's 3 minutes past 10. These are your latest headlines. Top story, former Conservative Cabinet Minister Lord Michael Gove says Whitehall officials attempted to block journalists from publishing investigations into grooming gangs in 2011. Lord Gove confirmed Dominic Cummings' claims that he rejected advice from Department of Education officials who suggested stopping journalists from publishing reports of abuse in Rotherham. GB News spoke exclusively to Lord Gove a short while ago.
Rotherham Metropolitan Borough Council at the time didn't want the full details revealed. They approached the government and the Department for Education, where I was Secretary of State at the time, asked us to join them in a legal case in order to prevent the Times publishing. I looked at the material alongside Dominic and some other people in the department, and we contacted Rotherham Council and we said, yes, we will intervene in this case, but on behalf of the Times, because it's absolutely vital that the truth be told.
This comes as Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner has failed to apologise for Sir Keir Starmer's smear, where he accused those calling for a national inquiry of jumping on a far-right bandwagon. The Foreign Secretary is in Washington today for urgent talks as fears grow over a wider conflict between Israel and Iran. David Lammy will meet his US counterpart, Marco Rubio, just as President Trump hints he may join Israeli strikes on Iran's nuclear sites.
It's a terrible thing. I hate to see it. I hate to see all that death, so much death and destruction. I say it very simply, Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. I have ideas as to what to do, but I haven't made a final. I like to make the final decision 1 second before it's due. You know?
Overnight, Israel and Iran continued to attack one another, with Israeli media reporting a hospital has been hit by Iranian missiles, leaving 40 people wounded and causing extensive damage. President Trump's intervention comes as Sir Keir Starmer chaired an emergency Cobra meeting to discuss the security situation in the Middle East. And more help is on the way for struggling households. An extra 2.7 million homes will get £150 off their energy bills this winter. The government is expanding the warm home discount to cover all bill payers on means-tested benefits after a major eligibility shake-up. That means over 6 million households will now qualify, including 900,000 families with children and 1.8 million living in fuel poverty. A surge in small boat crossings is expected in the coming days as calm seas and warm weather sweep the Channel. UK and French authorities are preparing for a spike, as a senior maritime source said a string of these so-called red days might easily see several thousand migrants make the illegal journey. It could take the number of small boat migrants so far this year to more than 20,000. And the Bank of England is unlikely to cut interest rates today as inflation pressure grows. With unemployment rising, the Bank of England is under pressure as it decides whether to keep interest rates at 4.25%. The Chancellor's autumn budget continues to cast a shadow over the job market, complicating efforts to balance inflation and growth. This afternoon, Chancellor Rachel Reeves will address the Times CEO Summit, outlining her vision for economic recovery to the UK's top business leaders. And some medical news as hopes for new Alzheimer's treatments on the NHS have been dealt a blow as 2 breakthrough drugs are rejected for routine use. Health watchdog NICE says the benefits of the drugs are too limited to justify their high cost, despite fresh evidence from the manufacturers. Campaigners say that the decision is a setback for patients and families desperate for progress in tackling the disease. And the hot weather continues across the UK. Temperatures are expected to rise to 31 degrees today and tomorrow, before peaking at 33 degrees on Saturday, according to the Met Office. Yellow heat health alerts have been issued by the UK Health Security Agency for most of England and will remain in force until 6 p.m. on Sunday. Warnings are also being issued over the risks surrounding rivers, lakes and waterways as people look for ways to cool down. London Fire Brigade has already attended more than 280 water-related incidents so far this year. That's up 15% from the same period last year. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. More from me in just under half an hour. But now back to Andrew and Bev.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Bev. Now, a lot of you have been getting involved this morning with the conversation. Tim says, leave the UK out of this war. We have got our own battles. We don't need to get involved in a foreign war we don't have anything to do with. And there were little pictures of tractors on Tim's message, which would suggest maybe he's a farmer, and farmers do feel like they have more pressing issues which are demanding their attention every single day. Notting Hill Carnival, says Susan, along with Pride Carnival, should not be paid for by the taxpayers. We don't have this money to spare. If people who want these carnivals to continue pay into a fund for them, taxpayers or non-taxpayers, a lot of people not only not interested, they dread them.
Also, you have to think about Notting Hill Carnival when they say they want public money to improve safety. Public money's piled in anyway because they've got all the police who have to police it, taking away from their day job.
Yeah.
Patrolling the streets. And you get endless stabbings, and last year there was a fatal one.
Yeah, Jero says, I absolutely refuse to fund the Notting Hill Carnival. It has nothing to do with me. Ask Sadiq Khan to find funding and get the Met Police to do their job and not dance around like morons.
Yeah, they do a bit of that, don't they?
Apparently some councils cancelled remembrance events on the grounds of security costs. Therefore, Notting Hill, says Dennis, should simply be cancelled as well, unless it can be self-funded, which obviously it can't be. So goodbye Notting Hill Carnival, which has become a criminal's day out. And it is a shame, because there are families that still love Notting Hill Carnival. There will be charity workers, there'll be music groups, there'll be people providing food who want to have a good day. And it is a small number of people who cause the minority that spoil it for everybody else, isn't it?
Look, it's a great culture event. It's just not me, and that's fine.
No. Well, let me just tell you some of that. I've got some of the numbers on. I can't find it at the moment. Oh, here we go. This is the numbers about the security at Notting Hill Carnival. Last year, 334 arrests.
It's a lot.
Breakdown, 102 arrests on the Sunday, 247 arrests on the Monday. Officers included possession of offensive weapons, assault on emergency workers, sexual offences, violence, drug offences, theft and public order offences. And 2 people died last year.
Was it 2?
It was Cher Maxim. She was the mother who was fatally stabbed.
She was stabbed in front of her child.
In front of her child. It was the most awful attack. She was nothing to do with the guys who stabbed her. She was just happened to be standing there.
Wrong place at the wrong time.
And another one, would you remember this story? Musi Imnetu, a 41-year-old chef who was visiting from Dubai, and he was found unconscious with a head injury. Just a random attack. People did go to prison for those murders. Quite right too.
And it's not an uncontroversial thing to say. Of course, there is a lot of illicit drug taking going on at that festival.
As there is at every music festival. There really is. I think the difference is with this, if you're not familiar with it, it's on the streets, it's outside people's houses, so you get stories every year of people using
gardens. And I know people who move
toilets.
out and they board up the houses, board up the windows, and they move out because it's just unbearable.
And on this hot temperatures we're going to be enjoying this week, Celestine says, thank you, Andrew, for using Fahrenheit.
Good, there we are.
Finally, I can understand the temperatures.
Yeah, I just think it's important.
And also, it says, now that we're removed from the EU, can we have imperial measurements again?
Quite right.
Well, you do find that people are using them more and more, a bit like you using Fahrenheit.
Well, I always use feet and inches, don't you?
I do for height. I use feet and inches. For
And
weight,
stone
for weight, I'm
pounds.
moving a little bit more towards
No,
kilos, but
no.
I still prefer stones. I can't lie. Here we go. Let me see what else you've been saying. Carl says, when will Starmer call a Cobra meeting for the invasion of illegal migrants and terrorists onto our shores? This is a national emergency which needs addressing now. He's got better things to do, Carl.
He's got to do his film in Canada.
Is it the G7 posing, get with his lovely cinematic video of himself? Oh, you hated that video, all of you, on the inbox.
It reminds me, back in the 1980s, in the run-up to 1987 election, Kinnock's image was bad, Neil Kinnock, and a filmmaker called Hugh Hudson, who was involved in Chariots of Fire, did this very moody film of Neil Kinnock and Glenys Kinnock, and it was transformative. It really tried...
Really?
And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to pull off a Hugh Hudson, Neil Kinnock.
A PR makeover.
But he was in Wales, he was in Britain. Don't do it in Canada, mate, when one of the criticisms of Starmer is he's never here.
The ultimate the biggest criticism of Starmer from people, especially on social media, are that he is the ultimate globalist and he doesn't care about this country. That's the accusation, Prime Minister. I'm sorry you might not like it, but it's true.
Now, moving on, the President of the United States says the US military is willing to carry out strike at Iran's nuclear facilities unless they give up their plans to create a bomb.
This is what he said.
It's a terrible thing. I hate to see it. I hate to see all that death, so much death and destruction. I say it very simply, Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. I have ideas as to what to do, but I haven't made a final. I like to make the final decision 1 second before it's due. You know?
Well, the Attorney General, Lord Hermer, that is the government's senior law officer, has warned that Britain becoming involved in US attacks on Iran could be illegal. Very similar to how Lord Goldsworth advised the government against the Iraq War in 2003. He was the Attorney General back then. But back then, he changed his advice within 2 months, and we've discovered from subsequent inquiries into the Iraq War under pressure from the then Prime Minister, Tony Blair.
And that's the dodgy dossier.
It is.
Now, joining us from Westminster is GBNews political correspondent Catherine Forster. Catherine, good morning. What else can you tell us about this evolving situation?
Yes, good morning. Well, frankly, it's a bit of a nightmare for the Prime Minister because clearly he and Europe and much of the West want de-escalation. He was on the phone to the Emir of Qatar last night talking about diplomacy, de-escalation, but it sounds very much like Donald Trump has got other plans. Now, we don't know if Donald Trump will give the go-ahead for America to attack Iran directly, but we know they are thinking about using the B-2 stealth bomber to try to take out Iran's nuclear development, which is very, very deep underground. Now, that plane is the only one that could potentially do it. It would take probably repeated strikes too. And it would likely need to launch from Diego Garcia. So remember the Chagos Islands, that almighty row just a few weeks ago of us giving sovereign territory to Mauritius and then paying a lot of money to lease it back. We have sovereignty over Diego Garcia. We would need to give the Americans permission. Now, Iran has already issued a pretty direct threat to us in the event of us getting involved. We've got a military base at Cyprus. We've got troops in Iraq. They could be put at risk. So this is incredibly difficult. And we've seen so far that the Prime Minister has bent over backwards to keep on the good side of Donald Trump. So it will be very difficult for him to say no. But, of course, Lord Hermer, the government's top lawyer, is saying that that could breach international law for Britain to get involved, because it's one thing to act defensively in support of an ally, as Britain has done previously in defending Israel from attacks. It's another thing entirely to get involved with bombing another country.
And Catherine, just briefly, I don't think public opinion would be on the Prime Minister's side if he does extend military support, and he'd struggle with many of his own Labour MPs and ministers.
He would. I think it would be deeply unpopular in the Labour Party. I think there would be a public wariness, given what happened with Iraq. We all remember that, don't we? That Blair said to Bush, "We will be with you, whatever." That advice about the weapons of mass destruction turned out to be totally incorrect. And there are people saying that, Donald Trump saying Iran is very, very close to having a nuclear weapon. Plenty of other people, even within the American intelligence community, saying that that's not actually the case and that Iran isn't that far advanced and is basically being using his sort of nuclear development program to try to win concessions from the West and a reduction of sanctions. If we attack them, where does that lead?
Okay.
Fascinating. That's Catherine Forster, our political correspondent in Westminster. Thank you for that.
So we are headed towards our first heat wave of the year. Over the next few days, some parts of Britain could see temperatures peak at 33 degrees. What was that in Fahrenheit?
91.4 Fahrenheit for us oldies.
Will you be getting your guns out, Andrew Pearce? That's the question.
Somebody said, well, I get my milk bottle legs out. I don't have milk bottle legs.
Well, somebody who also doesn't, she won't at the end of today. Joining us now with sunny skies in Bridlington, GB News reporter Anna Riley. Anna, we've challenged you to go paddling. Come on, look at that scene. How is it there this morning?
Good morning, Bev and Andrew. It's like being abroad here in sunny Bridlington in East Yorkshire. And yes, a lot of people do enjoy paddling in the sea, cooling down. I can tell you it's feeling quite cold, especially compared to the air temperature. But it's still fairly clear, actually. I can still see all the shells beneath me. So hopefully no sewage in here, but certainly refreshing to have a little paddle, have a swim in the sea. We've been out and about speaking to people here in Bridlington this morning that are soaking up the sun, and this is what they've had to tell us.
We're on holiday. We've been here since last Friday, so we can't complain. It's been beautiful, and we're here till Monday, so we're really looking forward to the hot weather. As you can see, the sunbed.
It's lovely. It really is very nice. It's absolutely gorgeous. We deserve it, definitely.
It's good. We like the warm weather.
Yes, very nice. Loving it. Yes, like the
warm enough.
weather.
So not just locals coming to Bridlington to enjoy the sunshine, people from far and wide travelling from down south and spending the whole week here. So it's a true boost for tourism in the area as well, especially with things like inflation and the cost of living. Businesses like here, like the fish and chip shops, ice cream shops, the amusement arcades that we can see just in the distance here. It's a huge boost for them, people coming and putting money in the local economy. And it's certainly not just here in Bridlington where people are soaking up the sun. Up and down the country, people are flocking to the coast to enjoy the sea and the sunshine, and I don't blame them. I've definitely had worse days at work.
Oh, Anna, that is lovely. It's on days like this, I'm so jealous of people who live near the sea.
Gorgeous, isn't it?
Isn't it gorgeous? Get yourself on the waltzer, Anna, for next time we see you.
Yeah. The stunning part of East Yorkshire.
You've been to Bridlington?
Yeah, a long time ago. Very lovely.
Yeah, it's gorgeous, isn't it? Right. This summer, what would you do with £54,321? It is basically like having an extra £1,000 in your bank account every week for the whole of the year. Here's the details you need to win it.
The Great British Giveaway is now even greater, with your chance to win our biggest cash prize so far. A totally tax-free £54,321 cash could be yours. Cash that you could spend however you like. It's like having an extra £1,000 each week for a whole year to play with. Imagine what you could do with that. Someone is guaranteed to win this amazing amount of cash, so make sure that someone could be you. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck indeed.
Yeah, indeed. Now, still ahead, pressure is piling on London Mayor Sadiq Khan as the Notting Hill Carnival organisers say it's at risk without urgent funding from the government, and he will be challenged too on grooming gangs because, of course, he's a man of Pakistani Muslim origin.
Don't go anywhere. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power. Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Yeah, you can, but no one likes a snitch. And I think office politics are often hard enough and enough of a minefield without getting involved. I think you have to leave it to the management. Unless you're their manager or their supervisor, I think trust in the process, don't stick your nose in. Because everyone always shoots the messenger. And in my experience, whenever I have flagged anything, it has normally turned round and bitten me rather nastily. So I wouldn't be getting involved.
But everybody suffers, Steve. That's my point of view. We're all being dragged down by these people who aren't pulling their weight.
Oh, I say bring on the snitch, whatever you want to call it, because at the end of the day, of course, you know, I go to work to earn my money. I don't go to work to earn your money. And coming back to the point the other contributor makes, you know, if the manager is a good manager, and let's say they are, then they'll obviously keep it confidential as well. The other thing we have to remember is that if someone is not pulling their weight, it builds up resentment. It builds up frustration and irritation. The other thing I would say as well is that a lot of teams out there, especially sales teams and customer service teams, are bonused on the team result. So, you know, if someone's behaving like a tortoise and I'm behaving like a racehorse, I'm sorry, I'm snitching.
Yeah, I mean, Sally, it's not fair on the whole team, is it, if somebody isn't pulling their weight?
No, that's absolutely true. But in a sales environment, that person will not last long. They will be thrown out. It just doesn't happen. And maybe I'm just not that much of a team player. I don't really care what anyone else is doing. As long as I'm all right, then I'm not going to worry about anybody else.
GB News, the People's Channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Bev until midday. We are joined in the studio by Jonathan Liss and also journalist and broadcaster Linda Duberly. For the first time on our show on this section, Linda, so great to have you here. Thank you so much. Right, should we talk about HS2?
What an embarrassment.
Linda.
We're going to talk about Iran first.
No.
Oh, okay.
Linda, don't let him boss you around just because he's normally here. I won't let that happen. Right, HS2.
I think it is an embarrassment. And one of the people I was listening to earlier this week was Lord Berkeley, who was saying right from the get-go this wasn't going to work. And I tried to do a little bit of research to get some insight into the backgrounds. And I think the problem here is that when you do these very, very big projects, which are non-governmental in the commercial or corporate sector, they run a certain way. And I don't think that civil servants or politicians have the necessary skills to run them tightly or to budget. And so I think it doesn't matter what the project is, they will always attract, you know, the same type of person. So just very briefly, if you, do stuff in the corporate sector, like I do sometimes now for comms training, they use biometric training. They find out what type of person suits the role. Are you a high D, highly determined character, like an entrepreneur, like a business builder? Are you a high C, like a compliance person? Have you got a mind for detail? And the problem is, no one does any of that stuff in government that I'm aware of, so you end up in these very, very big projects where they overspend and they overrun.
And they always... I used to think about Crossrail. Very, very late. Very, very. But this one is a shocker. £36 billion, and they've hardly gone anywhere with it.
What should they do with it now, Jonathan?
Look, we've come so far. I think it would be even more of a national embarrassment and humiliation to pull the plug on it now. I think there should be an inquiry, actually. I know we talk a lot about inquiries. I think that one thing we can all agree on is that it's profoundly embarrassing that one of the richest countries in the world cannot build a basic railway between its two biggest cities. When you go to our neighbours, who Britain's meant to be the home of the railway, you go to France, Italy, Spain, and they have high-speed rail across the entire countries, and the countries are much bigger than Britain as well. And how is it possible? I think I was reading on Twitter, I'm not sure if it's true, but the International Space Station is cheaper than HS2, and that's that's in space.
And it cannot look at the bullet train in Japan.
Exactly.
A rail network that has been running really, really successfully for decades.
Arab countries are literally building cities out of the desert with water that gets sent from the sea, 400 kilometres in pipes, and we can't get a train up and running.
I think part of it is...
It's so depressing.
I think part of it is that you just look at the basic projects that we have now. There's a railway in Bristol that's been planned for years now, and I think that it's taken 8 years or something to plan it. It's kind of like an entire encyclopedia's worth of documents in preparation. The same thing with the new tunnel that's planned in London. You just have millions and millions of words. Now, obviously, we need regulation, we need building codes, we need standards.
And we really need a bat tunnel.
But we don't...
It costed tens of millions of pounds.
Of course, but so the thing is that we have to find the balance between regulating, making sure that these projects are safe and that they are, sustainable, but at the same time not being so ludicrous that use of millions of unnecessary words and pounds are spent.
I just want to read you a letter in the
projects that we don't need to
today.
spend.
A Chinese railway that opened in 2006 covers 1,215 miles. Cost £3.2 billion. We've spent £37 billion on Crossrail already, and it's going nowhere. And it took... the route runs through tunnels, over bridges. The journey takes 21 hours, and the trains reach speeds of 100 miles an hour. It took 2 years.
I don't know if it's a problem of bureaucracy that we have in this country or what it is. Like, you have... I think there's a station, I think is it Cutty Sark Station?
That's closed at the moment.
It's closed.
Yeah.
It's closing for a year. It's closing for a year so they can build 2 escalators. You kind of think, if you're in China, that could be done... That could be... First of all, you don't need to close a whole station. You could do one at a time, but it would take a few weeks, wouldn't it?
Foreign correspondent for Hong Kong, really, for 5 years. So I can tell you the Chinese do not mess about when it comes to building something for their infrastructure and therefore their proposed aim for dominating the world in many respects, for being the next economic superpower. They don't mess around. Now, there are some things we don't want to adopt from China, but their business practices in getting something done on budget and to time are exemplary.
But then do you think, Linda, it's actually a problem of NIMBYism because in China you don't have the democratic impulse or imperative to consult people, to register people's concerns. If the authorities want to do something, they'll do it regardless of local concerns.
And we're a small, crowded country, and that goes through areas that are not densely populated, so in some respects it's easier to do because there'd be less opposition. But look at the length of that track.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
1,200 miles. And also, HS2 is about going up to the north. Why did they start it from London to Birmingham? Why didn't they start from Birmingham to the north? Or, actually, better still, why don't we have a cross...
Because we have a profoundly London-centric political establishment. Everything is concentrated. The power, the wealth is concentrated in London in a way that doesn't happen in other countries. And so there's the idea that you would start a project linking two cities that aren't London would be absurd.
Wasn't it all set up to stop that?
That's exactly what it's supposed to be about.
Yeah,
I think it's a great tragedy that the HS3 was cancelled. Sort of the linking Birmingham to the north, because we do need to have greater connectivity with cities in the north. And I think that rail is, especially with climate concerns, rail is the future. But this country just seems not capable of delivering big infrastructure projects.
The high-speed rail link, when they eventually build it, the trains will run a much slower speed to save money. So it's not even going to be a high speed.
But having said that, the Elizabeth line has been a fantastic success.
Yeah,
and
true.
I was in America a few weeks ago. You go to, their city. Washington has a very nice metro, admittedly, but the idea, I was sitting on the Elizabeth line, the idea that you'd have that in a great city of America is nonsense.
Oh,
they would never spend that much money. It would never be that comfortable.
You use the Elizabeth line all the time.
So I get on the Elizabeth line at Maidenhead, and last week I had to go to my daughter's penultimate exhibition. She's doing architecture at University of Greenwich. That's a hideous journey by anyone's stretch of the imagination.
West
I just
to east.
hopped on at Maidenhead, changed at Canary Wharf, where I saw the Cutty Sark station had been closed, got off at Greenwich in just over an hour.
Yeah.
That's enormously impressive.
Yeah, the Elizabeth line is a success story.
And it's not too expensive either, unlike that Heathrow Express.
Yeah.
26 quid. Yeah.
Right, it's quite nice to finish on a success story, something we did well, at least in this country. Line.
We are going to talk to these two about Iran when they come back.
Yeah, we'll let you talk about it.
OK, great.
I imagine you're gung-ho for British military involvement, Jonathan.
Itching for, Andrew.
Jonathan and Linda, thank you so much. You'll be back in the next hour. But first of all, here is Sophia Hill with your headlines.
Bev, thank you. A very good morning. It's just gone 10:30. These are your latest headlines. Former Conservative Cabinet Minister Lord Michael Gove says Whitehall officials attempted to block journalists from publishing investigations into grooming gangs in 2011. Lord Gove confirms Dominic Cummings' claims that he rejected advice from Department of Education officials who suggested stopping journalists from publishing reports of abuse in Rotherham. GB News spoke exclusively to Lord Gove earlier this morning.
Rotherham Metropolitan Borough Council at the time didn't want the full details revealed. They approached the government and the Department for Education, where I was Secretary of State at the time, asked us to join them in a legal case in order to prevent the Times publishing. I looked at the material alongside Dominic and some other people in the department, and we contacted Rotherham Council and we said, yes, we will intervene in this case, but on behalf of the Times, because it's absolutely vital that the truth be told.
This comes as Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner has failed to apologise for Sir Keir Starmer's smear, where he accused those calling for a national inquiry of jumping on a far-right bandwagon. And the Foreign Secretary is in Washington today for urgent talks as fears grow over a wider conflict between Israel and Iran. David Lammy will meet his US counterpart, Marco Rubio, just as President Trump hints he may join Israeli strikes on Iran's nuclear sites.
It's a terrible thing. I hate to see it. I hate to see all that death, so much death and destruction. I say it very simply. Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. I have ideas as to what to do, but I haven't made a final. I like to make the final decision 1 second before it's due.
Overnight, Israel and Iran continue to attack one another, with Israeli media reporting a hospital has been hit by Iranian missiles, leaving 40 people wounded and causing extensive damage. President Trump's intervention comes as Sir Keir Starmer has chaired an emergency Cobra meeting to discuss the security situation in the Middle East. And more help is on the way for struggling households. An extra 2.7 million homes will get £150 off their energy bills this winter. The government is expanding the Warm Home discount to cover all bill payers on means-tested benefits after a major eligibility shake-up. That means over 6 million households will now qualify, including 900,000 families with children and 1.8 million living in fuel poverty. Those are the latest GB News headlines. For now, more in half an hour, but let's quickly check in with the markets.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Done.
My Claim Group sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
Here's a quick snapshot of today's markets. The pound will buy you $1.342 and €1.169. The price of gold is £2,509.50 per ounce, and the FTSE 100's at 8,809 points.
Done.
My Claim Group sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
Up next this morning, Foreign Secretary David Lammy is going to meet his American counterpart, Marco Rubio. At the same time, President Trump hints that he may join Israel strikes on Iran's nuclear sites. Should Britain back Trump or stay out of it? The decision could be in the hands of that man. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Pretty terrifying.
Morning. Yes, it's time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. A hot and sunny one for most places today. A little bit cooler on some coasts, and it's not that sunny across much of Scotland first thing. Bit of drizzly rain in western areas as well, but that should tend to peter out. The cloud will break up a little bit, and we should see some sunshine certainly developing across the central belt and southern Scotland by this afternoon. Most of Northern Ireland, much of England and Wales, fine and sunny once more. A little bit of a breeze picking up along some of these North Sea coasts, so not as hot here, and it won't be as hot where the cloud persists over northern Scotland, but elsewhere temperatures are likely to get into the mid-high 20s. Perhaps even 30 degrees Celsius in one or two places. Now, as we go through the late afternoon and into this evening, eyes down to the southwest as we may start to see a little bit more clouds edging in, but generally it's a fine, balmy summer's evening for most parts of the UK. As I said, central and southern Scotland seeing the sunshine coming through. Still quite a bit of cloud at this stage across northern Scotland, and a cooler feel with the breeze coming in from the sea, generating perhaps a little bit of ha in places too. That should tend to push away further north as we go through tonight, and most places will have clear skies. But that cloud down to the southwest, that will be edging in. We might just see one or two very scattered showers across southwest Wales and southwest England, but most places will stay dry, and most places are going to be pretty warm. Certainly towns and cities across the south and the west holding up in the mid or even high teens. So pretty uncomfortable night for sleeping here, and the nights aren't going to get any more comfortable over the next few either. A bit more cloud around tomorrow, and still the chance of one or two showers over Wales, Northern Ireland, perhaps into parts of England and Scotland by the afternoon, but they'll be well scattered. Most places will stay dry, and another hot one. Hotter day on the east coast, temperatures inland over 30 Celsius. Bye for now.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The M9 eastbound off-slip at Junction 1, Newbridge, has restrictions due to a broken-down vehicle. On the M4 at Junction 33, Capel-Lanilturn, a vehicle fire has been reported. In East Riding of Yorkshire, the M6-2 westbound between junctions 38 and 37 faces 20-minute delays. In Hampshire, a broken-down vehicle on the M27 eastbound between junctions 3 and 4 causes 20-minute delays. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast disruptions affect Liverpool Lime Street. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
(10:37). This is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Bev.
So we've been waiting with bated breath, haven't we? Donald Trump saying the American military is prepared to carry out precision strikes in Iran's nuclear facilities, as well as potentially other political targets, including potentially even Iran's spiritual leader.
So apparently because of this, Keir Starmer has called an emergency Cobra meeting, concerned that the UK is going to be dragged into conflict between Iran and Israel.
We're asking this: should we take a stand, or should we stay completely out of it?
So let's speak now to the former head of counter-terrorism at the Ministry of Defence, Major General Chip Chapman, and former British Army officer Stuart Crawford. Good morning, gentlemen. Really interested to hear your assessment of this very tense situation and what it might mean for this country. Chip, let's come to you first. Where does this go next?
Well, the Americans will have a number of asks to the British, which is partly to do with basing. So, of course, Diego Garcia is one of those that if they project force and bomb people through, they would have to get UK authority to do that. The second one, and the worst case, really, from a British perspective in terms of an ask, would be if the Strait of Hormuz were to be blocked by the IRGC or the Iranian forces, because we have HMS Jafar up in Bahrain, which has a number of mine countermeasure vehicles, and they would definitely be an ask to try and clear a path. What I think will happen next, though, is quite right that we'll have a number of defensive measures because we sit alongside the Americans in Bahrain and in Qatar Al Udeid airfield. But what I think will ultimately happen is that tomorrow there's a diplomatic meeting with the Iranian Foreign Secretary, and my gut feeling is that the pressure strategy will lead to the Iranians once again drinking from the chalice of poison, because the bar for the Iranians is very low. It is regime survival and domestic security, and they will do everything to preserve that rather than being bombed into oblivion and potentially leading to regime collapse. So there will be asks. As a P5 member, there's a diplomatic aspect, but I don't think we'll be joining any American offensive strike were that to happen.
Stuart, if Chip Chapman's right here, and the Americans want to use this bunker-busting bomb, and they need to use the only planes that are licensed to fly the B-2 Spirit stealth bomber, would have to do it from Diego Garcia. If Britain refused that permission, that could thwart the President of the United States' attempts to destroy Iran's nuclear-making facility. Would that destroy, then, our so-called special relationship with the United States?
Good morning. Well, I think that Chip has touched on all the important points here. But if Britain, the UK, was to deny the Americans use of Diego Garcia, they can, of course, mount the same B-2 Spirit bomber attack from continental United States. It makes it more awkward, it makes it more difficult, it makes it more logistically challenging. But they've already got all the tanker aircraft for air-to-air refueling already have crossed the Atlantic and are now in Europe or the Middle East. So it still can be done. So the Americans, I suspect, will go ahead and bomb the nuclear enrichment facility in Iran. And I don't think that Britain needs to get involved in it, because we actually don't bring much to the party. Although we, of course, are involved already, because the Americans and others use our important base on Cyprus at RAF Akrotiri, which is an important staging post on their line of communications.
Well, might they need to refuel there, Stuart?
I beg your pardon?
Might they need to refuel at our British base in Cyprus? American planes.
I'm sure they do. Yes, absolutely, and they're not the only ones. I mean, it's a well-used staging post in the Eastern Mediterranean, and the Americans are there frequently, as we are, and as other nations. So that would not surprise me at all. And we're already involved because they're refueling their aircraft, for example, at air bases all over the UK, including at Glasgow Prestwick Airport, which, funnily enough, is owned by the Scottish Government.
And what do you both make of the Attorney General's assessment that actually there is no legal reason for us to get involved in this war, Chip?
Well, one of the things that you can say is that after the disastrous intervention in Iraq and Gulf War II, that we had the Chilcot checklist. And one of those parts is this legal? That would be the first question you'd ask prior to any intervention. But I think the first four questions which Chilcot asked are also important here. The first one is what is happening now? That's the current analysis. The second one is what might happen next. That's the scenarios, because you've always got scenarios rather than certainty. The third one is options, really what we're discussing, what we should do. And the fourth one, most important one, because the really important bookend of war is how it ends, which is policy and strategy. What do we see success looking like? They are the important questions. That is often difficult to articulate, because although the Israelis want to firstly get rid of the nuclear program, secondly get rid of the ballistic missiles, and thirdly destroy the proxies, the third they've already done, which has allowed them to do or carry on with 1 and 2, success would be a stable Middle East. And that's always very difficult to predict, particularly with how the regime will react, because one of the things about the the Iranian Islamic Republic is it's a pretty repressive regime, which will turn out the Basij, their volunteer militias, to kill lots of people. And it's when they stop killing those that you may get some sort of regime change or collapse. But I don't think there's any reason that they won't do that. And I think one of the indicators and warnings that we've already seen is, for example, internet connectivity going down to 5%, something they did in 2020 when there was a similar protest after the killing of Soleimani by Trump, actually, under his first regime.
And Stuart, if we were to become involved, maybe by just using Diego Garcia, what would be the downside for Britain?
Well, the downside could be that it brings us into direct conflict with Iran. And the aforementioned bases in Cyprus, of which we have 2, are well within ballistic missile range of both Iran and also its Hezbollah proxies. So that's a risk. There are threats to shipping in the Strait of Hormuz, which Chip has already mentioned. And also, it's only a few weeks ago that MI5 interrupted an Iranian terrorist plot in the UK, in London mainly, at the very last minute. So we would probably see more of that. So I think at the moment the risks of British involvement are greater than the benefits that might bring, even though we would always like to stand shoulder to shoulder with the US and indeed with their major allies in the Middle East, in Israel.
And Donald Trump, of course, was voted into power saying that he would end wars. He's very proud of the fact that there are no new wars under his last term in office. So do you get the sense that he doesn't want to escalate this, but Netanyahu has effectively put him in a no-win situation? Stuart, you're sort of laughing there. Go on, respond to that.
Well, I mean, I'm afraid nobody knows what Trump's going to do from one day to the other. And, you know, he flip-flops and everything, you know, tariffs on, tariffs off, immigration, deportations on, deportations off, and so on and so forth. So he's a loose cannon on the international stage and nobody knows exactly what's going to happen next.
I think he's very easy to predict. I think he's incredibly easy to predict. I think if you watch Donald Trump, I think he's very easy to predict. And what you might see as flip-flopping, he would say, is his negotiation strategy. He likes to keep people he's negotiating with guessing, which is unusual, and that's why he does have some success. Chip, do you see him as a reluctant leader of a war?
I do see him as a reluctant leader of a war, but again, in international relations, you'll have to look at a thing we call game theory and what the payoff matrix is. The payoff matrix for Donald Trump, a win-win for him, is that Iran no longer has a nuclear file in the future. And secondly, the Middle East is reordered, because the difference between when we didn't allow the Americans to use bases, for example, in 1973 under a thing called nickel grass, when the Israelis were massively reinforced by the Americans in the 73 war, is that in 73 we were worried about the Arab reaction to us supporting the Americans. That is gone. Every Arab state, because again, you have to remember the Iranians are Persian and Shia, they're not Sunni and not Arab, they would like the theocracy in Iran to fall. So there are less risks than there were in 73. So those risks could be quantified on that. The only unquantifiable is how this really finishes.
OK, thank you, gentlemen. Really appreciate it. Major General Chip Chapman there and former British Army officer Stuart Crawford. Somebody's got in touch with Bev supports Russia now. She supports Iran. I don't support Iran. I think the regime is risible. Just ask the women in that country what it has been like to live under that regime.
Yeah, and if you're gay, they throw you off roofs.
Quite. So neither of us would do very well in Iran.
No.
I will not weep any tears over the obliteration of that regime in Iran.
However, you never know what comes next.
And it's also about the civilians, the people who are just trying to live normal lives in that country, taking the kids to school, filling the fridge, all that stuff.
Well, Trump will be hoping,
think about those people.
Trump will be hoping for regime change, but again, he doesn't always work like that. Now up next, the Princess of Wales dropped out of her scheduled appearance at Royal Ascot just minutes before we were due to see her. We'll be going to the festival today. It's Ladies' Day. It's not there.
No. First of all, though, let's have a look at the temperatures in Europe if you think about booking yourself a nice holiday. Here you go.
Stay in.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, lots of hot sunshine across Italy, and we may spark a few heavy thundery showers in Sicily over the next day or so. There's a weather system sitting away to the west of Portugal, but its weather front could introduce a bit more cloud in Madeira during Friday and Saturday. A few showers inland over Spain, but most of the coasts dry and sunny. There are those heavy showers in southern Italy. Much of the eastern Mediterranean dry, fine and sunny. It'll stay sunny in Barcelona and Nice throughout the weekend. Goodbye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
What is the state of our economy? What is the state of our National Health Service? What is the state of our schools?
What on earth is going on?
Understanding Britain means understanding the state we are in. This is State of the Nation with me, Matt Goodwin, Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays from 8 p.m. on GB News.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our viewers and listeners. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel. Let's go straight to Royal Ascot, where GB News' correspondent Cameron Walker joins us, looking very dapper. Cameron, it is officially Ladies' Day. People don't like it being called that anymore because there's an assumption it's a little bit sexist, but we don't mind here. The ladies look fabulous, and so do you, Cameron. What's happening?
Oh, thank you so much, Bev. Yes, Gold Cup Day is the official name now that it's not Ladies' Day. We're going to see all these fabulous outfits a little bit later on for you. The sun is shining. It's meant to be 31 degrees. The Met Office has just updated their weather forecast. It is incredibly warm here, despite the incredibly strict dress code. As you see, I'm in top hat, tails and a waistcoat, because that is the Royal Enclosure dress code. So we'll see if they relax that. At the moment, I think they're sticking with their guns and keeping it on. But of course, later on, we're expecting the King and Queen and other members of the royal family to be part of this royal procession, which has happened exactly the same for 200 years. With cheering crowds around this parade ring and then going to the royal box to watch the racing. They don't have any runners, the King and Queen, today. They've had two big disappointments on Tuesday and Wednesday. Their horses came 7th yesterday and 9th on Wednesday, so not on Tuesday even, so not ideal. We'll see if they've got a runner later on this week. The Princess of Wales, of course, yesterday was expected to attend and then she didn't. No real guidance as to why that was, but it certainly was a last-minute pullout from my understanding. But I suppose it's just her gradual return to public duties. But of course, the band is playing, the champagne is flowing, it's British summer. What more could you want?
What more could you want, Cameron, indeed. Thank you very much. That's Cameron Walker. I'll be there tomorrow.
Well, lucky old you, eh?
Yep.
Now, are you enjoying the hot weather? Well, these people in Bridlington, East Yorkshire, certainly are.
We're really looking forward to the hot weather. As you can see, the sunburn.
It's lovely. It really is very nice.
It's good. We like the warm weather.
Yes, very nice. Loving it.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Morning. Yes, it's time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. A hot and sunny one for most places today. A little bit cooler on some coasts, and it's not that sunny across much of Scotland first thing. Bit of drizzly rain in western areas as well, but that should tend to peter out. The cloud will break up a little bit, and we should see some sunshine certainly developing across the central belt and southern Scotland by this afternoon. Most of Northern Ireland, much of England and Wales, fine and sunny once more. A little bit of a breeze picking up along some of these North Sea coasts, so not as hot here, and it will be as hot where the cloud persists over northern Scotland, but elsewhere temperatures are likely to get into the mid-high 20s. Perhaps even 30 degrees Celsius in one or two places. Now, as we go through the late afternoon and into this evening, eyes down to the southwest as we may start to see a little bit more clouds edging in, but generally it's a fine balmy summer's evening for most parts of the UK. As I said, central and southern Scotland seeing the sunshine coming through. Still quite a bit of cloud at this stage across northern Scotland, and a cooler feel with the breeze coming in from the sea, generating perhaps a little bit of har in places too. That should tend to push away further north as we go through tonight, and most places will have clear skies. But that cloud down to the southwest, that will be edging in. We might just see one or two very scattered showers across southwest Wales and southwest England, but most places will stay dry, and most places are going to be pretty warm. Certainly towns and cities across the south and the west holding up in the mid or even high teens. So pretty uncomfortable night for sleeping here, and the nights aren't going to get any more comfortable over the next few either. A bit more cloud around tomorrow, and still the chance of one or two showers over Wales, Northern Ireland, perhaps into parts of England and Scotland by the afternoon, but they'll be well scattered. Most places will stay dry, and another hot one. Hotter day on the east coast, temperatures inland over 30 Celsius. Bye for now.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
£54,321 cash could be yours. Cash that you could spend however you like. It's like having an extra £1,000 each week for a whole year to play with. Someone is guaranteed to win this amazing amount of cash, so make sure that someone could be you. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our viewers and listeners. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Thursday, 19th of June, live across the UK, Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Bev Turner.
Thanks for joining us this morning, especially as it's so hot outside. Temperatures could reach 91 degrees Fahrenheit or 33 degrees Celsius if you prefer. So get your shorts and shades and possibly a little bit of SPF on today.
Back to 50.
Feeling hot, 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 yes, as temperatures soar and we approach our first heat wave of the year, people are coming to coasts like this one in Bridlington to soak up the sun.
I say it very simply, Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. I have ideas as to what to do, but I haven't made a final. I like to make the final decision 1 second before it's due.
So has the President approved plans to potentially attack Iran? Our own Foreign Secretary David Lammy is meeting his American counterpart Marco Rubio to talk about the ongoing crisis.
But is history just repeating itself? Do we learn nothing? Attorney General Lord Hermer has warned that Britain joining the conflict against Iran could be very much like in 2003 when Lord Goldsmith advised the Iraq war was unlawful.
Ladies' Day at Ascot. Our royal correspondent Cameron Walker, he's soaking up the sun.
The band is playing, the champagne is flowing. I've got my race card in hand. It should be another glorious day here at Royal Ascot. The King and Queen also expected to be here later. Join me later with all the details.
They think they're expected to be there. They'll definitely be there. Academic silence. 1 in 5 professors on both sides of the political spectrum no longer feel free to teach controversial topics. Who says what's controversial, by the way? How are we going to maintain freedom of speech in the classroom?
Best man on the road! 1, 2, jump!
Is that your idea of fun? Well, Notting Hill Carnival is in crisis. Its future is hanging in the balance as the event organisers have asked the government for urgent funding to keep people safe. Not really a surprise, but it is very depressing about those academics who feel they can't talk about controversial topics.
And who decides what's controversial? I mean, you know, what's the norm? So half of them are saying they can't teach subjects because, what, they could be closed down? They'll be cancelled?
And the thing is, if people are policing themselves like that, we're already living in a tyranny. People are self-censoring in that way, and the academics who are meant to be the ones pushing the envelope of thought and encouraging critical thinking, if they are saying, we can't talk about certain topics. And as you say, who dictates? Where have they got that from? Where are they hearing what is the Overton window of acceptable speech?
Is it the students' unions? Is it the students? Is it ministers? I don't know. We're going to delve deeper into that story because we think it's very important.
Yeah, let us know your thoughts. gbnews.com/your say. First, though, the news with Sophia Hill.
Bev, thank you. Very good morning. It's just gone 11 o'clock. These are your latest headlines. Former Conservative Cabinet Minister Lord Michael Gove says Whitehall officials attempted to block journalists from publishing investigations into grooming gangs in 2011. He confirmed Dominic Cummings' claims that he rejected advice from Department of Education officials who suggested stopping journalists from publishing reports of abuse in Rotherham. GB News spoke exclusively to Lord Gove earlier this morning.
Rotherham Metropolitan Borough Council at the time didn't want the full details revealed. They approached the government and the Department for Education, where I was Secretary of State at the time, asked us to join them in a legal case in order to prevent the Times publishing. I looked at the material alongside Dominic and some other people in the department, and we contacted Rotherham Council and we said, yes, we will intervene in this case, but on behalf of the Times, because it's absolutely vital that the truth be told.
This comes as Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner has failed to apologise for Sir Keir Starmer's smear, where he accused those calling for a national inquiry of jumping on a far-right bandwagon. The Foreign Secretary is in Washington today for urgent talks as fears grow over a wider conflict between Israel and Iran. David Lammy will meet his US counterpart Marco Rubio, just as President Trump hints he may join Israeli strikes on Iran's nuclear sites.
It's a terrible thing. I hate to see it. I hate to see all that death, so much death and destruction. I say it very simply. Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. I have ideas as to what to do, but I haven't made a final. I like to make the final decision 1 second before it's due. You know?
Overnight, Israel and Iran continued to attack one another, with Israeli media reporting a hospital has been hit by Iranian missiles, leaving 40 people wounded and causing extensive damage. Iran state media, just shortly ago this morning, says that their foreign minister has confirmed that he will attend a meeting of European officials tomorrow in Geneva, including British, French and German counterparts. President Trump's intervention comes as Sir Keir Starmer has chaired an emergency Cobra meeting to discuss the security situation in the Middle East. And more help is on the way for struggling households as an extra 2.7 million homes will get £150 off their energy bills this winter. The government is expanding the warm home discount to cover all bill payers on mean-tested benefits after a major eligibility shake-up. That means over 6 million households will now qualify, including 900,000 families with children and 1.8 million living in fuel poverty. And a surge in small boat crossings is expected in the coming days as calm seas and warm weather sweep the channel. UK and French authorities are preparing for a spike, as a senior maritime source said a string of so-called red days might easily see several thousand migrants make the illegal journey. It could take the number of small boat migrants so far this year to more than 20,000. The Bank of England is unlikely to cut interest rates today as inflation pressure grows. With unemployment rising, the Bank of England is under pressure as it decides whether to keep interest rates at 4.25%. The Chancellor's autumn budget continues to cast a shadow over the jobs market, complicating efforts to balance inflation and growth. This afternoon, Chancellor Rachel Reeves will address the Times CEO Summit, outlining her vision for economic recovery to the UK's top business leaders. And hopes for Alzheimer's treatments on the NHS have been dealt a blow as 2 breakthrough drugs are rejected for routine use. Health watchdog NICE says the benefits of the drugs are too limited to justify their high cost, despite fresh evidence from their manufacturers. Campaigners say that this decision is a setback for patients and for families desperate to progress in tackling the disease. And now, an award-winning film director and actor found murdered in her North London home may have been targeted for her diamond-encrusted Rolex. 69-year-old Jennifer Abbott was discovered in her flat in Camden on Friday evening, wrapped in a blanket on her bed, with tape placed over her mouth after concerned relatives and neighbours forced entry. A post-mortem examination said the cause of death was a sharp force trauma. Scotland Yard has begun a murder investigation. Officers said that an expensive diamond Rolex was missing, which has led them to consider robbery as a potential motive. And the hot weather is continuing across the UK. Temperatures are expected to rise to 31 degrees today and tomorrow, before peaking at 33 degrees on Saturday, according to the Met Office. Yellow heat health alerts have been issued by the UK Health Security Agency for most of England and will remain in force until 6 p.m. on Sunday. Warnings are also being issued over the risks surrounding rivers and lakes and waterways as people look for different ways to cool down. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. More from me in just under half an hour, but now it's back to Bev and Andrew.
This is Britain's Newsroom, live across the UK. Andrew.
We see what you've been saying at home. Yes, you've been quite busy this morning. Remember, if you are watching the telly and then you've got to go out because it's a sunny day and you think, oh, I'm just going to go and water the flowers or whatever, you can take us with us on your DAB radios. Just a reminder. Or do what I do. When I'm pottering around at home, Andrew, and I've got my pinny on...
Oh, I don't have one of those.
I think I've got a problem with my mic. I have my...
Your mic's playing up. I'm going to have to do the talking. No, I can just carry on. So I can't read the emails because I've no access to them. So... I can look over your shoulder. And now
Be careful reading these out, Andrew. Just
yes,
want to warn you, you can't always read them.
Notting Hill, they say there's not a lot of support for people about Notting Hill giving taxpayers money. It has to be said. And Maggie says, no, what does Right,
move on to
OK.
the guest.
Well, we're going to move on because, as you know, I'm not very good with all this technology and IT. And
It's reading out loud. You've just got to make sure.
Now, the President of the United States says, he says he's prepared to order strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities. He says they are developing a nuclear bomb. So we don't know what his plan is, but he's talking about something could happen in the next week.
It's a terrible thing. I hate to see it. I hate to see all that death, so much death and destruction. I say it very simply. Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. I have ideas as to what to do, but I haven't made a final. I like to make the final decision 1 second before it's due. You know?
And fascinating, it makes quite a lot of the front pages today. The Attorney General, who is the government's senior law officer, that is a man called Lord Hermer, has told Keir Starmer that Britain becoming involved in US attacks, whether we let them use a military base, could be illegal. Now, I'm old enough to remember back in 2003, in January 2003, Lord Goldsmith, the then Labour Attorney General, told Tony Blair if we got involved in the Iraq War, America's military invasion, it would be unlawful. 2 months later, he changed his mind. Let's talk to Jerry Hayes, who is a barrister, a criminal barrister, and was a Conservative MP in the Commons at the time. Jerry, does this ring bells for you? Lord Hermer saying, don't do this, my dear, it could be illegal. The Attorney General in 2003 told Blair it could be illegal, and he still sent our troops into battle.
I think it's rather different, though. I think Hermer is actually wrong. We're entitled to defend ourselves and protect our values of the West and protect our British values. The Iranian regime, the tyrants, clerics, they despise us. They despise the West, and they are determined to destroy the state of Israel, not cause them problems, determined to destroy the state of Israel. And if they have nuclear weapons, and I suspect Trump has got some very, very good intelligence, otherwise we wouldn't be talking about it now, it will have to be destroyed. Not Iran, obviously, but through the bunker bombs, which only the Americans have got. So no, I don't put it on an even keel with what happened in Iraq. But why is the Attorney General making his views clearly through someone else? Attorney General should be seen and not heard, and not be political. This will stir up all sorts of trouble on the backbenches of the Corbynites, the Dinah Abbotts. It's not good. Iran is our enemy. It's an enemy of the West, and they are the facilitators of death, destruction, and terrorism throughout the world.
And Jerry, on that point, of course, in Britain in the last few months, we know Iranians have been apprehended in this country who we understand from the security services were contemplating or planning some form of strike against an Iranian journalists operating in this country, who were clearly putting out a message that the mad mullahs, if I can call them that, in Tehran didn't approve of.
Yeah, absolutely right. That's happening in our own country. They are our enemy, the regime, not the people of Iran. Whether it's terribly wise to try and overthrow this tyrannical dictatorship, I'm not sure, because be careful what you wish for. Is there anyone there who is moderate and decent and sensible who could take over? And we don't want Iran to be particularly weak, and we don't want a vacuum in the Middle East where there are enough problems. But going back to Hermer, what is he up to? He is treading on very, very, very thin ice, and I wonder how long he's going to stay in office for.
And of course, he's Starmer's mate. We know that. He worked with human rights lawyers, and he's been involved, Jerry, in quite a lot of controversies, which, as you say, you don't normally expect with an Attorney General. They're normally seen and not heard, but he's been getting involved in an awful lot of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get terribly upset of the people he's represented. I mean, I've represented some pretty dreadful people. I've prosecuted some pretty dreadful people. That's not really the point. He is a very, very political human rights lawyer stroke Attorney General. We just want someone who's competent, who's not political, who can guide the government on a sensible course which protects our country so we obey the law and leave everything else alone. So I would imagine number 10 would have been on the phone to him today and said, look, mate, just shut up, will you?
It is amazing as well that we find out about his advice, Joe, on the front page of the Daily Telegraph.
Exactly. Exactly. Really weird. And its sources close to, which usually, well, you know as well as I do,
that's him.
means he's done it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, what's going on? There's a little game going on here, which doesn't do us any good because Starmer's made it absolutely clear that he would support the United States in a strike. We won't be sending our own aircraft over at all, but we will be giving them intelligence support, I imagine, and rightly so. Whatever you think of the Israeli government, and I don't think a lot of them, what's been going on in Gaza, they have a right to exist. The state of Israel has to exist. If Iran has nuclear weaponry, and they're well on the way to it, if they haven't got it already, they should not be allowed to have it because they will destroy the state of Israel. And that is just appalling.
Fascinating. That's Jerry Hayes, former Tory MP who is a criminal barrister and I say was around in the Commons when that big bust-up happened with Lord Goldsmith. It's quite interesting because Jerry's quite right. Attorney Generals should be seen and not heard. They're law officers. They're not political. They're there to give legal advice. And this is, Jerry makes a point, sources close to Lord Hermer say, let me tell you, having been done political journalism for 25, 30 years, that's him. Or one of his mates has briefed the paper.
I think we've fixed my mic now. Keep your messages coming in, won't you? A lot of you commenting on the Notting Hill Carnival. Jill saying anyone who wants to go to Notting Hill should buy a ticket. It should be £20 or £30 and the money goes towards running the event. The streets can be shut off quite easily. Police can be paid for properly, just like football matches, just like any other event from music festivals to football matches. Buy a ticket. That's the debate that's been come up every year for a while now.
I went to that music festival in Oxfordshire a few years ago. It's quite a one David Cameron's been to. I've forgotten what it's called. You had to pay. only went for a few hours.
What was it like? What did you listen to?
I was speaking at it, actually.
Oh, were you? Oh, of course you were.
I took part in a debate.
Was it? You mean a book festival or a music festival?
That was a music festival. Yeah.
What were you talking about?
I can't remember.
Not your love of music, presumably.
They didn't want to talk about ABBA.
No.
Why not?
If you didn't see this morning, we had the new Swedish a cappella band on breakfast this morning. It was very nice. They're Swedish dads and they're being called the new ABBA. They're not the new ABBA.
They're not.
That's only because there's no such thing as never be another ABBA, will there?
No, absolutely not.
Right, if you would like to spend some money this summer going to music festivals like the cool gentleman on my right, you could if you win.
Anyone I've ever been to, and I stayed for 4 hours.
To listen to yourself talk. You could buy yourself some amazing festival tickets this year. If you win this, £54,321. Here's all the details you need to enter.
The Great British Giveaway is now even greater, with your chance to win our biggest cash prize so far. A totally tax-free £54,321 cash could be yours. Cash that you could spend however you like. It's like having an extra £1,000 each week for a whole year to play with. Imagine what you could do with that. Someone is guaranteed to win this amazing amount of cash, so make sure that someone could be you. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Welcome back to... Oh, no, not welcome back. Sorry. Reading your inbox. It's very busy this morning. Lots of you commenting on the Notting Hill Carnival and just some recollections. Somebody here, John, had said, when I was 11, my mum and her friend took me to the Notting Hill Carnival. 2 people were dancing on the balcony. They fell to their deaths. We got home that evening, it was on ITV News. 2 people had died falling off a balcony. That's a bit traumatic, John. Don't want to be bringing that back, those sorts of memories for you. But we've looked at the numbers this morning. Over 300 people arrested at the Carnival last year, and the organisers are saying we need some emergency funding because we can't keep people safe. And going to the council and saying, can we have some taxpayers' money, please?
Yeah, but also we're already paying for the Notting Hill Carnival because hundreds of police officers are there, so we're paying for that enough through our council tax.
Absolutely.
They're being paid overtime.
And events need police. That's what we do in this country. We do give the police to, whether it's football matches or music festivals, etc. That's fine. But this can't. It's not sustainable. Frankly, if you don't want to get into danger, don't go. Would be my advice. But It's a shame because it's a small number of people who ruin it.
They do.
Up next.
Why do 1 in 5 professors on both sides of the political divide no longer feel free to teach controversial subjects, which is a really concerning issue, which is why we're talking about it here on Britain's Newsroom.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Welcome back to Breakfast. Now, experts are warning that lithium suppliers will not keep up with the demand for electric cars.
Yeah, researchers say domestic lithium production could grow as much by about 10 times what it currently is by 2030, but will still fall short of demand.
So this morning we're asking whether Labour's green car policy is unachievable.
This policy tells you everything you need to know about net zero. This isn't about giving people free choices about the technologies they want to use. This is about saying we're going to have mandatory targets. It's a sad indictment on our country if we've just normalised the government making these fundamental decisions for people's lives. The CEBR has warned that this policy might cost the country. That's rigid targets for battery electric vehicles, known as the ZEV mandate. 80% of all vehicles will have to be electric vehicles by 2030, rising to 100% by 2035. And that policy is expected to cost £400 billion to the UK economy. And of course, car makers as well have warned that this policy is not achievable.
The latest stats say 47% of vehicles sold in Britain are now EVs. We're halfway there after just 2 years of the electric mandate. We've another 5 years to go. It's speeding up. And this charge that lithium, we're going to have a shortage of lithium, is nonsense. What it says is that there may be the consumption of lithium is increasing, so the domestic production will not be sufficient, but there's plenty in the world.
GB News, the People's Channel.
At GB News, we are proud to stand for you, for the Britain you love, for the communities you live in. That's what makes us the fearless champions of Britain. Its voices and its values. Because we, at GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It is 11:22. And we've got our panel back, the journalist and broadcaster. We're very thrilled to have Linda Dobley with us, actually. And we're always thrilled to see Jonathan.
I don't know.
Thrilled.
Angie, just be nice. Just be
I am being nice.
Andrew.
That is nice, trust me.
Yeah. And actually, you don't know, you're not wearing ridiculous clothes today. Linda, freedom of speech under threat. How can it be professors, academics, who are supposed to be pushing the barriers for our kids, are feeling they can't speak on a number of subjects? And these are people on the left and the right.
Yeah, so they feel that they can't, and that is wrong. In higher education, further education, the whole point of it is to teach your child to question principles.
Yes, right.
So, and what you don't want is a whole generation of children, I hate to use an overworked phrase called, you know, kind of snowflake children who get over sensitive about subjects. What you don't want is that. You want them to be resilient and robust. But as far as I can see, this Office for Students has laid out a kind of charter here which has bullet points which actually protect the values of freedom of speech, and I think that's quite a valuable thing.
Yeah.
If university professors think they need some kind of guidance or some sort of protection, I think that's good.
Do you think they've just become too cautious to professors? They fear they're going to be cancelled or closed down?
Yeah, I think it goes back to what I was saying about different types of people being in different types of sectors. Academics are naturally nuanced and naturally careful, and it would be wrong to castigate them for that, because that's what makes them who they are. So if they need a bit of structure around them, which says, you know, which is erring on the side of free speech, it's protecting free speech, I think that's all good.
I agree.
But there are so many constructive dismissal cases and employment tribunals, Jonathan, because teachers have said the wrong thing. And then these uppity students who've never had to defer to anybody, and they're as a paying customer in university, then demand their expulsion from the building. The power balance is all wrong in universities, isn't it?
Well, I, as a general principle, I think that universities should be places where views are exchanged freely and debated robustly, and the people shouldn't be sort of cancelled, if that's a word, for views which may go against the grain. What I find difficult is that there is always a line being drawn somewhere. So I was struck in the article about this that the Office of Students made clear that it will not protect Holocaust denial. Now, you could say that if you are arguing for free speech, then why not that? It's not a crime to sort of question the Holocaust. I think it's wrong. It's not a crime. It's a crime in some countries, not in this country. And so what I fear is that people are just... The lines are still being drawn somewhere, and some speech is still not going to be acceptable. And so where do you draw that line? And so really what I fear, and particularly it was the last government that was sort of drawing up these plans, is that they were very interested to make sure that their preferred topics were allowed to be discussed. But actually, the last government was incredibly anti-free speech in so many ways. People who had questioned Brexit, for example, or who had been critical of the government in social media tweets, were disinvited from giving presentations to civil servants, for example. I saw plenty of examples of that. And so what I worry about is the hypocrisy of it. If it's free speech, then make it free speech. If you really want to have free speech, then say even the most reprehensible things should be allowed to be discussed.
It's all fairly easy to understand, really. These lines aren't difficult to establish. Free speech is free speech as long as it doesn't incite violence or aggression or criminality. So free speech is easy to understand, and we've intellectualised this subject far too much.
But should you have evidence that it has incited violence?
Yeah, I think you definitely... Well, because that's a criminal...
But I mean, what I mean by that is, in the case of Lucy Connolly, let's say the mother who went to prison for 31 months for responding to Southport riots, there was no evidence that what she posted and then deleted gave rise to a specific violent act.
She was unfairly... That was totally unfair. I don't even think she should have got a custodial sentence. Never mind one of 31 months.
Yeah, and lost her appeal.
And she took it down.
Yeah, she did.
So, I mean, I'm all for free speech. In fact, if you came to my house for a Sunday lunch... It would be a right old argy-bargy for the lunch date.
Do you ever use the phrase to anyone, you can't say that?
I probably as a joke.
Because I think I've heard you say that, like when we're joking off camera.
Yes, you've said it to me many times.
Yeah, true that.
For you, Andrew, I'm sure there are plenty
of it's called free speech.
You see, my teenagers will often say, "Oh, Mummy, you can't say that," or "Mum, you can't." And I say, "Never utter that sentence in my house."
Bev, I can't remember what slurs you might have used off screen, but if you have used one,
I think you were talking to him, to be fair.
But so you can't say that. But there are certain words which might have been used in previous generations, for example. About racial minorities or sexual minorities or whatever, and those are no longer accepted words. We say you can't say that. I wouldn't want you to be jailed for saying it.
That's my point, though. It's easy to understand. These lines are easy to understand. We're making a meal of this, and we need to move on to more important topics. Not now, not this.
Well, I think there is one important topic we should talk about as well.
What do you want to talk about?
Well, let's talk about maybe the prospect of World War III.
Yeah, go on, Jonathan. Go on, tell us your take on this.
I think that we are at an incalculably dangerous moment right now, where you have a president, and my goodness, I loathe everything he stands for, but he was elected on a sound promise not to start more wars, not to get the United States involved with its blood and treasure in sort of Middle East...
And he hasn't.
In protracted Middle East conflicts that cannot be won, or rather that you can attain the objectives at first, and then you cannot...
But he hasn't done that, though.
He hasn't done it yet.
Netanyahu has.
Right. Well, Netanyahu Netanyahu is not what we're talking about right now. Netanyahu wants to fight a war, which is an illegal war, because it was illegal what he did under international law. It was an unprovoked attack of aggression. And let's remember that Netanyahu's been saying that Iran is weeks away from developing a nuclear bomb since 1995.
Oh, yeah, but the compelling evidence from the UN monitors is that Iran are very, very close to weaponising...
Tulsi Gabbard, the Director of National Intelligence, said herself to Congress a couple of months ago that there was no evidence that Iran was...
But that's not what the monitors said 2 weeks ago.
They said that there was more enrichment than usual, but that's not evidence that
Something like
Iran
60%, and if they were just...
That is a clear indication.
Which is about creating a bomb.
The point is, Netanyahu can do what he wants, and my goodness, he's shown that he can. But we don't have to fight his war for him. And if the United States, and God forbid the United Kingdom, should get involved in this, we will not be able to get out of it.
But we do in this instance, because what's happened here is the significant plant is actually built into a mountainside. Now, the problem here is that a delayed action missile has to be used. That's a pinhead missile which drills into the mountain and pumps more explosives in afterwards. It's the only thing that will get rid of that plant. Now, the pure fact of the matter is that Israeli jets can't carry that weapon. Only an American-made B-2 can carry it. So America will have to intervene if it wants to get rid of that plant.
The whole point, Linda, is that we had...
That is the point.
The whole point is that we had negotiations on the table. And what does Israel do? It blows up the lead negotiators. What Netanyahu was not trying to... Netanyahu wasn't trying to stop Iran getting a nuclear weapon. He was trying to stop a nuclear...
But you're ignoring Linda's point about the International Atomic Energy Authority, after 20 years, finally losing
I'm not ignoring the point. I'm not ignoring the point. I'm saying
the
route through is diplomacy.
Well,
and Iran was about to negotiate with the US.
No, I don't believe they were.
Well, they were. They were literally scheduled to negotiate.
They were talk to the International Atomic Energy Authority. But they shut them out.
Look, if they had... It was the United States under Trump that withdrew from the nuclear deal in 2018. We wouldn't have had this problem otherwise.
I've spoken to agrees that we are now very close to seeing Iran with a nuclear weapon. Very close indeed. And they've said to me, actually, the only person that wants Iran to have a nuclear weapon is Iran. No one else wants this to happen. It's not just a question of Benjamin Netanyahu. It's not that I don't understand. He has a domestic agenda. He does. But the fact of the matter is...
This is his personal agenda. He wants to stay in power.
Whatever... It's a much bigger deal than that.
I think he also wants to protect his own country from being wiped off the map, which is the ambition of the theocrats in Iran.
The one country in that region that has a nuclear weapon and is not signatory to the Non-Proliferation Treaty is in fact, Israel.
Yeah.
And which is a country that has been bombing all of its neighbours in the last few months. It's not Iran, it's Israel. Now, obviously, Iran has retaliated, and I deplore all loss of civilian life and all attacks on civilian infrastructure, such as we've seen in Israel. That should go without saying. But that doesn't change the fact that Israel has started this war. Now, I think that's a terrible, terrible mistake, but I don't think that we should join in. Absolutely no way.
But we are not, the UK, are not joining in.
If we let them use the base at Diego Garcia, are we then joining in? If we let the Americans use that base?
That's called a contingency response action. And I think that what we're doing is backing up our own bases and backing up our own forces. That's preparedness, and that's OK. But what is really significant is if the US joins.
Of course.
And we don't know what's going to happen.
And I do find it interesting that you say Donald Trump wants to get involved. He hasn't
We don't
yet.
know, actually, yet.
He hasn't.
He's the game show host.
Come on. Yeah, but if you guess the new conclusion so far is he could have, and immediately on the eve that Netanyahu started bombing around, Trump could have been right there. That was his ticket if he wanted to do that.
I very much hope that Trump sees sense, which is not something that he's shown much evidence of, and doesn't go along with this. Look, we know that the US is tacitly approving all of this. Israel would never have done this without the approval of the United States, and that's why he's been waiting for a president who will let him do it for years.
And Reuters have reported that it was Trump who said to Israel, do not take out the spiritual leader.
Right. So look, it's already terrible as it is, but if it stays between Iran and Israel, at least we can avoid a major escalation. Because if you do, and look, Israel is fantastic at bombing things and destroying things, and I'm sure that they could take out anyone in the Iranian regime they wanted, and any sort of nuclear base.
Well, it wasn't that
if you destabilise,
it was a very complex intelligence operation.
Israel is very, very good at doing this. Israel is not so good at what happens next. Just as the UK and the US weren't good at what happened in Iraq.
But the fact of the matter is the only way of bombing the plant that is inside the mountain, which is the significant plant that we're talking about, is for that weapon to be flown in by a US B-2.
Right.
We need to move on.
That is a declaration
We're
of war.
so late to the news. Linda Duberly, Jonathan Liss, thank you so much. I'm very sorry, Sophia Hill. She's waiting terribly patiently. It's 11:33. Here she is with your headlines.
Beth, thank you. It's now 11:34. These are your latest headlines. Former Conservative Cabinet Minister Lord Michael Gove says Whitehall officials attempted to block journalists from publishing investigations into grooming gangs in 2011. He confirmed Dominic Cummings' claims that he rejected advice from Department of Education officials who suggested stopping journalists from publishing reports of abuse in Rotherham. GB News spoke exclusively to him earlier this morning.
Rotherham Metropolitan Borough Council at the time didn't want the full details revealed. They approached the government and the Department for Education, where I was Secretary of State at the time, asked us to join them in a legal case in order to prevent the Times publishing. I looked at the material alongside Dominic and some other people in the department, and we contacted Rotherham Council and we said, yes, we will intervene in this case, but on behalf of the Times, because it's absolutely vital that the truth be told.
This comes as Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner has failed to apologise for Sir Keir Starmer's smear, where he accused those calling for a national inquiry of jumping on a far-right bandwagon. Now, the Foreign Secretary is in Washington today for urgent talks as fears grow over a wider conflict between Israel and Iran. David Lammy will meet his US counterpart Marco Rubio, just as President Trump hints he may join Israeli strikes on Iran's nuclear sites.
It's a terrible thing. I hate to see it. I hate to see all that death, so much death and destruction. I say it very simply. Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. I have ideas as to what to do, but I haven't made a final. I like to make the final decision 1 second before it's due. You know?
Overnight, Israel and Iran continue to attack one another, with Israeli media reporting a hospital has been hit by Iranian missiles, leaving 40 people wounded and causing extensive damage. Just earlier this morning, we heard that Iran state media are reporting that their foreign minister has confirmed that he will attend a meeting of European officials tomorrow in Geneva, and that will include British, French and German counterparts. President Trump's intervention comes as Sir Keir Starmer had chaired an emergency Cobra meeting to discuss the security situation in the Middle East. And the hot weather is continuing across the UK as an amber heat health alert has been issued for all regions in England. Temperatures are expected to rise to 31 degrees today and tomorrow before peaking at 33 degrees on Saturday, according to the Met Office. The amber alert will begin at midday today and remain in force until 9 a.m. on Monday. Warnings are also being issued over the risks surrounding rivers, lakes and waterways as people look for alternative ways to cool down. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. More from me at midday. But first, let's take a quick look at the markets.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
My Claim Group sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
Here's a snapshot of how the markets are looking this morning. The pound will buy you $1.342 and €1.169. The price of gold is £2,512 and 40 pence per ounce, and the FTSE 100's at 8,824 points.
My Claim Group sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
Emily and Tom are here to tell us what's on. Good afternoon, Britain. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, actually.
Isn't it interesting how suddenly the Chagos Islands are back in the news?
Who'd have thought it?
And yet this isn't because we're handing them over again, because we can't, we've already done that. It's because this is where America keeps its B-2 stealth bombers. If it wanted to take out these enrichment plants in Iran, the deep-level enrichment plant that I think it's something like 20 metres deep into the rock, they'd need to basically blow up a mountain. And the only way to do that is with these B-2 stealth bombers that carry the bunker-busting bombs. But some reporting today is suggesting that that would need sign-off from the British Prime Minister.
It would.
In order for those planes to take off from Diego
Because
Garcia on the Chagos Islands.
We gave away the Chagos Islands. We're paying $100 million a year to lease it back. So
Yes.
it is our... So this is going
But also in the terms of that deal, And it's unclear because this hasn't been tested yet. But in the terms of that deal, we also need to notify Mauritius about any action. Does that mean Mauritius has a veto, or does it we have to tell them before our super stealthy
And it looks like Lord Herman's going to veto it anyway. He's saying it's illegal, so there you go.
The Attorney General, who, according to sources close to Lord Herman in the Daily Telegraph, which we know means Lord Herman, of course, extraordinary that we read about his view on the front page of a newspaper.
Yes, it is quite incredible, isn't it?
You think he'd be sharing that privately with the Prime Minister?
It shows that perhaps there's some relationships that have broken down around the cabinet table.
Absolutely. Also, we want to talk about, and we're going to debate this, should grooming gang leaders, ringleaders, or just members actually be automatically deported from this country? Because Pakistan's not taking them back for various different reasons. We heard about Charlie revealed some kind of deal that's trying to be going ahead with their airline being used in this country, so they'll take back people. They're refusing. People are ripping up their passports and so on. So we're going to be debating that. And we've got some lighter news as well for you as well.
Are you going to Ascot?
Pardon?
Ascot?
We are going to be going to Ascot, and we are going to be talking about lollipop people.
And that spaceship that exploded.
Tom's excited.
Bring back lollipop people.
Bring them back.
Otherwise known as lollipop ladies.
It's actually a man. In this story, it's a lollipop man.
Good.
We had a lollipop man outside our school.
Yeah.
Gender equality has arrived at the final frontier, the lollipop ladies and men.
Good. Honestly, right.
And everything
all
in
that
between.
up at
There's
midday.
hope for me yet, then. All ends here.
It's a good retirement job, isn't it?
What do you think?
Yeah.
That fluorescent orange with your complexion would be awful. Right, Anna Riley, there is a glorious heatwave in Britain. What is it like in East Yorkshire?
Feeling hot, hot, hot. Feeling hot, hot, hot. Feeling hot, hot, hot.
Hello. Hot and sunny sums up the weather today for most parts of the UK. The UV levels, though, are high. The sun is almost at its strongest right now, and pollen levels, grass pollen levels, also going to be high. High pressure is the reason why the weather's so fine. There is a weak weather front just dribbling away from northwest Scotland. It's been providing some thicker cloud over the Highlands and the Western Isles and the odd spot of drizzle. That'll continue to edge away. Not completely sunny everywhere, though. There will be some stubborn areas of cloud over parts of northern Scotland and patchy cloud elsewhere, but generally dry and sunny, and temperatures really rising over 30 degrees Celsius across the heart of England, parts of East Wales also, and widely into the 20s of Celsius. Not quite so hot across Scotland and Northern Ireland, but here still over 20 degrees likely, except where it does stay quite cloudy across the far north. That cloud, though, continuing to break up further as we head into this evening. Now, through this evening, the cloud is going to thicken across Northern Ireland. Small chance you may hear a rumble of thunder or see a flash of lightning here later on. For the vast majority across England and Wales, it's a balmy summer's evening. Getting a little gusty down towards the southwest of England. Breeze be quite noticeable. And then as we go through the night, here too we could see that cloud increasing and the small chance of hearing a rumble of thunder, seeing a flash of lightning. But for the vast majority, it stays dry overnight. We'll keep largely clear skies. It will be a pretty warm night, especially across the south and southwest. Temperatures in some urban areas in South Wales, southwest England may stay up at 18 or 19 Celsius. So a difficult night for sleeping. Another very warm, humid feeling day for many tomorrow. Again, it's hazy sunshine for the majority, a sunnier day across western Scotland. Late in the day, again, the chance we could see one or two thunderstorms breaking out, but looking very isolated. Most places stay fine, stay sunny. If anything, hotter tomorrow, 31, perhaps even 32 Celsius.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Right, it's blooming boiling out there, apparently. We wouldn't know. There's no windows in this room. But we are so happy if you are out there enjoying the hot weather, as is Anna Riley, who's in Bridlington. Anna, what's happening there?
Yes, we're enjoying sunny Bridlington today. We're in the Rock and Candy store here in Bridlington, because what better to do if you buy an ice cream, have some fish and chips, but Rock, it's a staple of the seaside, isn't it? As long as you don't get it stuck in your teeth, it's certainly delicious. And there's a fantastic display here, over 20 different flavours of Rock that you can choose from. There's even a pirate Rock here as well, candy floss, classic fruit, and you've got your classic mint. Also, the ice cream looks delicious. There's obviously Mr. Whippy's, but these are your traditional flavours that you can get. And of course as well, waffles and donuts, another seaside staple. They're all freshly made here, and they're made by Gina Cooper, who works here. Gina, just tell us, with the sun getting hotter, with this heat wave on the way this weekend, what does that do for businesses like yours?
Oh, it's absolutely amazing. We get so many people coming in and visiting, and ice creams especially, we're just overloaded with that.
Because it's seasonal, isn't it, working at the seaside? So you need to make hay while the sun shines, I suppose, when it's weather like that.
Yeah, and it does get really busy, and you've got a lovely beach, you've got a fair behind us, and they tend to go on the beach, then walk up this way, calling for donuts, ice cream, obviously Rock, and all the bits and bats they want to take back home for the families.
And what is so great about Rock? It is one of those things when you go to the seaside, it's something to buy, isn't it?
It's traditional. I think it's always stayed as a tradition, and people always come in and say, oh, I need to take some Rock home for the family. So it is still a tradition.
And Bridlington itself, what's the draw? Because there's certainly lots of crowds out today.
Yeah, I think the beaches are gorgeous and they're safe, and the people here are so friendly. And the sea, there's boat trips, there's all sorts of things you can do, so it's really a lovely place to visit.
I had a paddle a little earlier on in the sea. You said it's one of the cleanest in the area.
It is, it's really, as you look down over the bridges, you can actually see to the bottom when the tide's in. It's that clear on a good day.
You're enjoying the sunshine, and it's a real boost, especially with the cost of living, because have you noticed as well that not as many people are coming, not as many people are spending?
Yeah, you tend to get, they don't spend so much, but they're still spending the Rock's home, so they're still coming in, which is nice.
Well, it's certainly a great store to visit. Thank you for speaking with us, Gina. I might just try one of these classic mint now as well. Let's see if I can open it here for you. I think it's one of the best flavours you can get, just one of the traditional ones. If you can get into it, that is. Here we go. I have my mouth full now, but let's just try this classic mint. Mmm, delicious. Get yourself to Rock and Candy here in Bridlington.
We're very jealous, Anna, and we hope you're going to buy us some.
That looked a little soft. I don't know about you.
Rock's supposed to be hard.
Rock should be rock hard. The clue is in the name.
I mean, when we were kids, we used to eat it, and you think you break your teeth.
I bought some for my kids. Went to the Isle of Wight half term, as you know, and we bought some at Allen Bay, and I was shocked to find it was chewy. That's outrageous.
Have they changed the recipe?
Well, I don't know.
I think we could be onto a scoop here.
Well, nothing is as good as it used to be, is it, Andrew? Even Rock has gone soft.
Yeah.
Millennial Rock. Right. Now, if that's not enough weather. Oh, right, let's go and have a look at the weather. Don't forget, if you're going on holiday, book your insurance and pack your bags. Here are the top European destinations.
Book your holiday here. It's nice and warm.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, lots of hot sunshine across Italy, and we may spark a few heavy thundery showers in Sicily over the next day or so. There's a weather system sitting away to the west of Portugal, but its weather front could introduce a bit more cloud in Madeira during Friday and Saturday. A few showers inland over Spain, but most of the coasts dry and sunny. There are those heavy showers in southern Italy. Much of the eastern Mediterranean dry, fine and sunny. It'll stay sunny in Barcelona and Nice throughout the weekend. Goodbye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here.
I'm Michelle Britain's News Channel.
News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. At GB News, we love to hear from you, our viewers and listeners. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. That's State of the Nation every Monday and Tuesday at 8 o'clock, only on GB News, the People's Channel.
El Scorcho out there. Anna Riley, what's it like in Bridlington, East Yorkshire?
Feeling hot, 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 feeling hot, 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 feeling hot, hot, hot.
Who says we can't make memes? Right, it must be hot at Royal Ascot too. That's where GB News' correspondent Cameron Walker is. Good morning, Cameron. You're making us feel so jealous. Sat here in the studio. Tell our viewers and listeners what's going on there.
Oh, well, Bev, it's hot, hot, hot here at Royal Ascot as well, I'm afraid. 31 degrees is expected to top today. Not quite a heat wave, that will be tomorrow when we've had consistently hot weather over the last 3 days. But of course, it is Ladies' Day today, or Gold Cup Day as it's officially known. And I've been looking at some of these outfits, and they are incredible. One lady spent hours and hours making her own hat. And let's take a look at some of the interviews I did earlier with some of the ladies.
A lot of scouting the internet for anything that would look nice, and then I liked the pattern of this one and went for it. The hat to match the dress was the difficulty because there's so many colours in it. I didn't know whether to go purple or blue. I ended up going blue.
I had like 3 outfits lined up and I was thinking, oh, which one? A bit indecisive. And then the weather thought, it's going to be a hot day, so I'm going to wear something that's like not too tight, quite flimsy, and yeah.
The crystals on the centre there, they're all hand placed, and of course the feathers are all individually placed as well.
Is it quite fiddly then?
Quite fiddly, quite time consuming, but I think it's worth the work to wear it to Ascot today and showcase what actually can be done.
Now the King and Queen expected to be in the royal procession later on today. They haven't had much luck with their runners. They were 7th and they were 9th over the last few days. They do not have a runner today, the King and Queen, but perhaps later on this week. But of course the champagne will be flowing, the Pimm's will be flowing as well. What a better day to spend at the races.
Creation, wasn't it?
I couldn't work out whether I liked it or not. I mean, phenomenal craftsmanship.
Yeah.
What did you say?
Hideous. Well, you want to my view? But courageous. It's part of the eccentricity of England, isn't it?
And on that bombshell, we are done for today and we're done for this week. We'll see you on Monday morning. Emily and Tom are here. Good afternoon, Britain. Sorry to the lady.
And speaking of bombshells, could it be a bunker-busting bomb ordered by Donald Trump and sanctioned by Keir Starmer that takes out more Iranian nuclear capability? Yes, it could come down to our own Prime Minister to sanction an American strike from Diego Garcia.
And Ed Miliband, remember he once called North Sea oil cultural vandalism? No, climate vandalism, but it looks like he might be heading towards one of the biggest U-turns of this government yet. Could we be seeing more drilling in the North Sea? Stick with us.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Morning. Yes, it's time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. A hot and sunny one for most places today. A little bit cooler on some coasts, and it's not that sunny across much of Scotland first thing. Bit of drizzly rain in western areas as well, but that should tend to peter out. The cloud will break up a little bit, and we should see some sunshine certainly developing across the central belt and southern Scotland by this afternoon. Most of Northern Ireland, much of England and Wales, fine and sunny once more. A little bit of a breeze picking up along some of these North Sea coasts, so not as hot here, and it will be as hot where the cloud persists over northern Scotland, but elsewhere temperatures are likely to get into the mid-high 20s. Perhaps even 30 degrees Celsius in one or two places. Now, as we go through the late afternoon and into this evening, eyes down to the southwest as we may start to see a little bit more clouds edging in, but generally it's a fine, balmy summer's evening for most parts of the UK. As I said, central and southern Scotland seeing the sunshine coming through. Still quite a bit of cloud at this stage across northern Scotland, and a cooler feel with the breeze coming in from the sea, generating perhaps a little bit of har in places too. That should tend to push away further north as we go through tonight, and most places will have clear skies. But that cloud down to the southwest, that will be edging in. We might just see one or two very scattered showers across southwest Wales and southwest England, but most places will stay dry, and most places are going to be pretty warm. Certainly towns and cities across the south and the west holding up in the mid or even high teens. So pretty uncomfortable night for sleeping here, and the nights aren't going to get any more comfortable over the next few either. A bit more cloud around tomorrow, and still the chance of one or two showers over Wales, Northern Ireland, perhaps into parts of England and Scotland by the afternoon, but they'll be well scattered. Most places will stay dry, and another hot one. Hotter day on the east coast, temperatures inland over 30 Celsius. Bye for now.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Imagine having an extra £1,000 to spend each week for an entire year. £54,321 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to spend however you like. £54,321 in cash could be landing in your bank account this year. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin,
and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our viewers and listeners. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
What is the state of our economy? What is the state of our National Health Service? What is the state of our schools?
What on earth is going on?
Understanding Britain means understanding the state we are in. This is State of the Nation with me, Matt Goodwin, Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays from 8 p.m. on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 12 o'clock on Thursday, the 19th of June. I'm Tom Harwood.
And I'm Emily Carver.
There are failures in policing at a national level that need to be addressed, and it is also the case that decisions that were made within the Home Office and other government departments do need to be scrutinised.
Yes, Lord Gove has told GB News that Whitehall officials attempted to block journalists from publishing investigations into grooming gangs in 2011. This as Pakistan continues to refuse to take back the ringleaders of the Rochdale grooming gangs.
I say it very simply, Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. I have ideas as to what to do, but I haven't made a final. I like to make the final decision 1 second before it's due.
Trump has approved a plan to attack Iran, according to White House officials. But should the UK give Trump the green light to launch US bombers from our Diego Garcia base?
And it's a bloated benefits bill. Yes, the number of people claiming disability benefits is set to jump by an astonishing 750,000 over the next 5 years. This despite the government's attempt to reduce the welfare bill. Is Britain's welfare system heading for collapse?
And what a scorcher out there it is. Temperatures could reach 33 degrees this weekend. I hope you've got a fan if you haven't got air conditioning. Blimey, get your shorts and shades on.
That's it, temperatures are rising and people are flocking to the coast to enjoy the sun. We're here in Bridlington with the very latest.
And it's a sunny Ladies' Day at Ascot, and our royal correspondent Cameron Walker is soaking up the sights.
Yes, the dresses are fabulous, the champagne and pims are flowing. There's also some horse racing going on as well, and of course the King and Queen will be here very shortly in the royal procession. Stay tuned.
Fantastic. And a much-loved lollipop man has been banned from high-fiving school children as they cross the road, apparently because council officials claim it causes traffic delays and poses a health and safety risk. Is this the very worst of clipboard Britain?
The Eagle hasn't landed, it hasn't even taken off. No, Elon Musk's latest Starship bursts into a gigantic fireball of flames after an explosion on a test site in Texas. But stay tuned to find out why this isn't necessarily as bad as it looks.
It's quite bad. Well, it does look like Donald Trump is upping the ante when it comes to this Israel-Iran war. And should Britain help facilitate it if Donald Trump does decide to attack Iranian targets?
Well, this is the question. I think there are different degrees of facilitation, aren't there? We could send our own fighter jets over Iran. Now, Israel has established air dominance over that country, so it wouldn't necessarily put us at risk, but that might then draw the ire of the Iranians towards British assets, or indeed us here at home. But wouldn't the ire of Iran also be drawn if they were to know that we were sanctioning American strikes, not even involving any of our blood or our treasure, but just